All right. Hello. Good morning, everybody. It is October 20th, 20 days into October 2023, 8:45 a.m. Happy Friday. We made it through the week. We are here. It is Friday, and it's been a hell of a week. We haven't done this all week because I think I forgot to do it on Wednesday. So let's do it today. If you are here, put in the chat where you are from, whether it's California or Germany, wherever it is. Let's put it in the chat. We do that once a week. Let's do it today on Friday. Let me know where you are calling from the chat or where you're watching from the chat. I've got the Friday shirt on as always. You know we got to have the Friday shirt. We've got a lot to talk about. On the docket today, the 10-year. We hit 4.99 last night. Today, we inched over 5%. And now it's down below. It's like 4.934, but we did inch over 5%. That spooked the markets and the pre-markets. And right now, the S&P 500 at 425. It was at 438 4 days ago. Now it's at 425. So we're going to be likely hitting that 200-day moving average if we have some more volatility there. We've got Enphase falling off a cliff. We've got to talk about that one. That's going to be a fun one to discuss. I do own a little bit of Enphase. I have a couple shares. And so Enphase is annoying. I actually think this price is getting very attractive, but we're going to talk about some of the problems that Enphase has and why it fell off a cliff, even though it didn't have earnings. Fell 20% or 15% after hours yesterday, which was just insane. And then we got to talk a little bit more about Tesla. Tesla had one of its worst days in the past 10 years, down 9.8% on the day. And we have to talk about what the future is for Tesla and kind of where, it's going to go in the future. So we got a lot to talk about. And we have a little bit more Palantir updates in regards to some of the events they hosted a couple of days ago. So we got a lot to discuss. It's going to be a fun, jam-packed Friday. I hope you all have been having a good week. October 20th. Let's get into the show. Peter from Miami, thank you for being here. Dominic from the UK. Raul from Romania. Inbound from NYC. Atit from Canada. Imnop from San Diego. Cameron from Nebraska. Ty Gordon from Missouri. Some of these guys I remember. I remember San Diego. I remember Missouri. Vincent Zhang, NYC. Amber and James Williams. I love that. It seems like you got a couple channels there. From Indiana, Georgia, Honeybee. Nolan from Atlanta. DCGM from UK. Kelly says, good morning, Caterpillar. Kelly is from Canada. I know that. Felicia, Cape Cod. Andre, London. Ezekiel, Washington State. JCam, Yukon, Canada. We got Spain. We got Georgia, Austin, Rocket City, Alabama. I love Alabama. Never been there, but it's in the South. I gotta explore the South one day. I've never been to Alabama and Arkansas, so I gotta go there one day. I've been to Texas, though. Miami, Florida, Romania, Singapore, Dallas, Finland, H-Town, OC, Corona, California. We've got a lot of diversity here in the chat. Thank you all for being here. We got Canada. We got Tallahassee, Florida, Dallas. What else? We got Milwaukee, the Bucks, Giannis, Austin, Spain. All right. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Let's get into the show and let's get into discussing a ton of things that we got to discuss. All right, let's start off with this 10-year. I think we'll do that. Then we'll move on to Enphase. 10-year yields right now in the United States of America are, well, today in the morning, they inched at 5%. I think you can call them 5% basically. Right now, if we look at it, it's 4.976%. And in the morning, I think around 6 a.m.-ish, that's when we hit actually above 5%. There was a literal 5 right there near the 10-year. Now, what does this mean? Again, we've been talking about it all week, but this is not good for stocks. Having that 10-year give you 4.9%, 5% means that the risk-free return is way better than the stock market, which is why we're going to see some volatility towards the downside in equities. Now, the problem here, and this is what I've been thinking about all morning as I've been just collecting my thoughts, is I'm looking at Enphase right now, down 13% in the pre-market. I'm looking at a SoFi. I'm looking at the S&P 500. I'm looking at a Tesla. A lot of these stocks are down pretty dramatically from where they were in July of 2023, right? Where we had the peak in S&P 500 at 460. So could we go lower? Sure. We can always go lower, right? The stock can always keep falling. I do think at some level, some of these companies are oversold. We'll talk about Bitcoin in a little bit as well. Bitcoin basically inching near 30,000 at 29,500 right now. I think some of these companies are ridiculously oversold. And as a result of that, for example, a Truist Bank that had pretty damn good earnings yesterday. I mean, you can't ask for that great of an earnings that Truist put out in terms of navigating all the macro instability. They're down, 3%. And it's that doesn't deserve to happen at an 11-year low. So I do think the market is now going to battle. We have to talk about what Jerome Powell talked about yesterday, but the market is now going to battle with essentially Is it time for that 10-year to get to such a level where equities truly make no sense to own, which you could argue at 4.9% return, yeah, that's the case? Or will the market get to a point where even at 4.9, 4.8, equities are so oversold that it's stupid to not buy an Enphase at $90? It's stupid to not buy a Tesla at $220. And that's going to be, I think, the deciding question over the next couple of weeks. And, we will end up seeing where the market decides to take it. But it is, it is troubling seeing the 10-year above 5, because now that it touched 5, it can touch 5 again, right? If you round up, it's basically a 5. There's not a literal 5 there, but it can touch that 5 again, especially if there's more volatility from what's going on in the Middle East geopolitically. So I think there's definitely a lot of concern to be had. We're going to talk about why there is some evidence of disinflation. Chris has been putting out some good DD this morning about why he's seeing massive levels of deflation happening. And so we'll talk about the bull case on that. But until we get an actual sign that inflation is coming to a point where we can reasonably say it's going down, we can't count on interest rates getting lower. Now, Jerome Powell, we'll talk more about him in a little bit, but yesterday he said two conflicting things. He said, one, I think it's good that inflation has come down over the summer, and he's happy with the rate of inflation coming down. But the problem with what he also said is that the consumer is incredibly strong. And so you're getting these sort of dualistic perspectives from the chair of the Fed, basically saying, I like that inflation has come down from 5% in May down to about 3.7% now in September. But the problem is the consumer is incredibly resilient. And if the consumer is resilient, and we're seeing this in the jobs data with the number of job openings, with the number of jobless claims not being as high as we thought it would be, and in general with retail sales being up 0.7% year over year. Again, I know we made a joke out of it on Monday when Lululemon joined the S&P 500, but if people have the money to buy $120 cardigans, that means the consumer is strong. Like, that doesn't happen in a recession. No one has that money. I mean, yes, there will be a certain class of society that will spend that money, but the broader public will not have enough to boost Lulu's revenue and their earnings per share for them to join the top 500 companies in the United States of America if we're having a recession, because $120 hoodies like that, people can't justify that. And so we're seeing such a strong consumer that Q3 earnings should be good, but that means that the economy writ large is not that bad, which means inflation can't really fall off the cliff we're hoping for. At least that is the perception of the Fed. That's not necessarily my belief, but that is the perception of Jerome Powell. And I can't blame him for that perception because he's trying to be very cautious. So we're going to see. We're going to see how it ends up going from there and how bad it ends up being. Ty Gordon says consumers are not strong. This narrative is so tired. I mean, look, we'll see in consumer data over the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to know definitively, is the consumer strong or not? From what I'm seeing, it looks like there is some strength, but then again, mortgages, car loans, right? We're seeing obviously some weakness in Tesla. Then yeah, like it's hard for the consumer to end up making bigger purchases. So I guess it's a question of where is the balance between buying a cardigan versus buying a car, and where is the consumer really choosing to allocate their capital. Also, I don't think student loans have officially started until the end of October. So we're not going to see those first round of payments until like October 26th. At least that's when my first payment is due. And I know it varies for a lot of people, but I think after October, we will see some impact of student loans. And if we don't, maybe the consumer has enough money to pay those student loans. Okay, let's move on to Enphase. Enphase. Put in the chat if you own Enphase. This is a company that got basically destroyed. Yeah, there's no other way to put it. Let me pull it up on Webull. Adam, thank you for being here. I see you in the chat. So Enphase is a microinverter company. And the microinverter is the thing that is necessarily underneath the solar panel in order for the solar panel to work. The thesis behind this company is that, look, growth will be phenomenal because solar is taking over the world. People don't want oil. People don't want gas. Inevitably, if everyone switches to solar, there's really two companies in the world that have the ability to create the microinverters that are necessarily for solar to thrive. Now, here is some great analysis by Chris, the other Chris, Data Driven Investing. I recommend you follow them on Twitter. Really good stuff. Here's what collapsed Enphase yesterday. So basically, I was just minding my business, not doing anything yesterday, doing my own work. And then I get a tweet. Someone's like, what's going on with Enphase? And then I look at Enphase and I'm like, it's under 100. What's going on with Enphase? And then this is what ends up happening. SolarEdge, which is a competitor to Enphase, put out their earnings. Their revenue was $725 million. They expected $900 million. That's a $175 million miss in terms of expectations of revenue. That's bad. I mean, you can miss by a couple million. You can even miss by 10, 15 million. $175 million disappears. There's a structural problem with the industry. Like if Google missed by $5 billion on their revenue, that means advertising as an industry is bad, not necessarily it's Google's fault. Gross margin is 20.6% versus 29%. So they missed about 8% of margin. Operating income, 21.5 million. We expected 125 million. So $100 million of operating income basically went away. And as a result of that, Enphase fell pretty dramatically with that, under 100, down 15% on the day. Now, this is pretty tough for a lot of the Enphase holders. There were people that, were buying hand over fist, not only at 180, but really at 130, 140. And it looks like the thesis might be collapsing with the stock. Bank of America has decreased their Enphase price target to $84. Another firm, I'm forgetting their name, but they're another investment bank on Wall Street, has put their thesis out at $65. And so let me give the bear case and the bull case, right? Because I want to give both sides. I did that on Tesla yesterday. So to be fair to the bear and the bull case, what is the thesis what is the argument for the thesis has broken? The argument is that no one's financing solar panels at these interest rates. Now that argument was there at 180. The problem is we didn't think rates would keep rising when the stock was at 180, right? And the growth was there to justify that valuation theoretically, but that growth cannot continue if interest rates remain this high because no one's buying solar panels. I mean, no one's financing this. I mean, people will, but not at the level we think it would. The way for Enphase to get out of this, and that's the bear case, right? The way for Enphase to prove the bull case is, I believe, to expand into other countries and or increase their influence in the North American region in a substantial way. Either, they're going into India as per their last press release, and I think they've been in India for a couple of years, but can they expand in India? Can they really, get to the point where they have like a monopoly in India? I don't know if they can. And I definitely don't think they can in the next couple quarters. In the United States, where, consumers have all the discretionary income, if the consumer is weakening, maybe there's nowhere to go into the United States in terms of upping prices or continuing to have sales. Like, you either have to grow revenue or cut costs in order for your EPS to somehow be reasonable. And it doesn't seem like there's that much juice left that much juice left to squeeze for Enphase to be able to do either of those things, given what we're seeing with SolarEdge. Now, remember, with SolarEdge, they are a company that was valued cheaper than Enphase before this big drop. The problem was their industry. The structural problem in the industry caused the stock to decline so dramatically because, let's actually go to the stock there, because the numbers just weren't good overall. There was a large demand problem within the company itself. It was down 5% yesterday, down 28% today. SolarEdge is down $32 in the pre-market. Like, I didn't even see SolarEdge numbers. This is not going to be pretty for Enphase and when the market opens. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and definitively say the market is not going to give Enphase the benefit of the doubt. SolarEdge is down 28%. It's a $6.45 billion company. Enphase was $15 billion before the pre-markets. Enphase is going to drop down to something like, I think, 10 or 8, 9 or 10 billion. Either the market during the open in 32 minutes decides to say, well, Enphase hasn't put out earnings, so let's wait till they put out earnings, or the market's like, you know what? There is no chance in hell that Enphase can escape what SolarEdge went through. So let's get our money at 100 because this sucker is going down to 80. And today will be a day that long-term shareholders might lose a lot of fucking money, quite frankly, given what we're seeing with SolarEdge. Now, that was the bear case. Okay. We see TJ in the chat. TJ says, I'm down over $100,000 on 3,500 shares of Enphase. Yeah, look, it's tough. And no one wants to see anyone lose money. This is just the reality of what goes on in the stock market. Someone was tweeting yesterday because I was like, I wasn't making fun of Tesla being down, but I was just like tweeting random stuff about how I don't like FSD. And everyone's like, oh, admit you're shitting on Tesla because it's down. I'm like, I've been down $50,000 before. I know what it feels like. In 2022, it's not fun. Okay, looking that you worked all those hours to make that 50 grand, right, at a regular job, like, and then it's just gone away. It's not fun. Okay, so I'm not happy when the stock market's down. By the way, Enphase and Tesla being down is definitely not good for the broader market and for my stocks to be down as well. If everyone makes money, I make money as well. However, you got to analyze the objectivity that's going on in the stock market. We'll talk about Tesla in a little bit, and it's time to be objective. Some of these stocks are just in a tough situation, and I would say that about Palantir as well. If Palantir was in a tough situation, Palantir right now down 1% of the pre-market. I'm a little afraid that Enphase fell, Palantir fell. I mean, Enphase fell, Tesla fell. Palantir might be up next, given they're a growth stock that is not showing the growth. Enphase not going to show the growth. Tesla not showing the growth. Those stocks get hammered. We'll see what happens to Palantir. But at the end of the day, my point is, it's not nice to see people losing money. But we've got to be objective on what's going on in this situation. So the final thing I'll say here about Enphase being down at $100 is the bull case is that this company, I believe when the market opens, will trade at a PE below 20, which is cheap for the growth it's showing. I think the growth is somewhere around 45-50% year over year. Will that continue? We'll see over the next couple quarters. And the market cap might be somewhere around $10 billion. Their revenue, let me actually pull that up real quick on Enphase, I believe is north of $4 billion. So they're going to be trading at a 2 times price to sales, which one could argue is cheap. The Enphase bulls, I would definitely say they would think it is cheap as well. So the question simply becomes, do you think it's cheap enough to buy that dip? My suggestion is if anyone's looking to actually buy the dip is just wait a little bit. It's always nice to just give it a little bit. Just wait before you go. I mean, maybe you have to pay a couple dollars more, which will suck. But no, nothing ever hurt anyone to wait a little bit and check. Okay, let me pull up Enphase revenue real quick. It's not showing up on my other computer, so let me pull it up here. Enphase revenue trailing 12 month. I just want to get this number correct. Enphase revenue trailing 12 month is it's growing 34% year over year. Last year it was 2.3 billion. Yeah, so right now it's about 3.4 to 4 billion. So if the market cap's at 10 billion, you're paying a 2.5x price to sales. One could argue it's cheap. But if you believe that this solar thesis with high interest rates is just not happening, are there more companies in the world that are more exciting? For example, I would buy PayPal over Enphase. PayPal right now, another 52-week low, 54.20, 1.1%. PayPal is a company that's not broken. It's a stock that's broken. Enphase might be a company that's broken because the demand for Enphase products isn't there. The demand for PayPal is not going anywhere, quite frankly. They just have to fix transaction margins, and I think the stock will be fine. That's my opinion. There's a bear case to it as well. But the demand for Enphase is going away because of the problem with interest rates. So, there's a lot of nuance to discuss in terms of figuring out which company is at the right valuation for you. But in the market open in 28 minutes, we're going to see where the market decides to price this company. Because right now, as per the pre-market, investors are not excited about what they're going to see. And it's the same thing that they're saying with Tesla. Let's see a little bit of comments on that. TJ says, don't feel sorry for me, guys. I'm still building my position. I've never bought the bottom. Enphase and PayPal won't be any different. Yeah, and that's the mentality you have to have when you're actually building out a position. TJ is long on Enphase. That's why he sells cash secured puts, right? He wants those stocks at a cheaper price to collect the premium. That premium reduces his average. That's the whole thesis around selling cash secured puts. So for those companies that you like, if you're a long-term Enphase shareholder, now's the time to remember the long-term. And look, I'm not just saying that to stomp on anyone. I had to feel that when Palantir was at 6. When Palantir was at 6 and I was down $42,000, I remember seeing that. Yeah, I had to remember this is the time to be a long-term investor, right? Because you can't get out of it. You're stuck there. You're literally stuck, right? So this is when you got to remember the thesis and just keep going from there. Okay, let's go on to Tesla. Tesla. So Gary Black was on CNBC last night. He ended up having a little bit of a debate. Gary Black sounds pretty defeated. I mean, he ends up sounding like, well, there's no other company that's growing, so I have to buy Tesla. He does not sound excited about this stock. So let's give him a little bit of airtime, and then we'll discuss what's going on with Tesla.
Gloves off in tonight's Times Square takedown. We were battling over the future of Tesla and the EV explosion. Our bear, the one and only fit and fighting trim Dan Nathan, future fund managing partner Gary Black, who joins us on the fast line tonight. We had some technical issues with this picture. Gary, you'll get the first swing here. You still like the stock here? A lot of people were commenting on the conference call that Elon sounded really down and out. He blamed everything under the sun, higher interest rates, bad macro environment, geopolitical. But this is still your second largest position.
Yeah, look, the conference call was lousy. The earnings were lousy because they missed on the most important metric, which is auto gross margin. And the quality of the earnings were light because it was all based on reg credits and lower tax rate. But when you think about the stock, it's trading now at 52 times. It's growing its volumes and earnings at 35% between now and 2027. I'm a growth manager. I can't find stocks that trade at 52 times that are growing at 30 to 35%. So we still like it.
In terms of volume.
Notice how he says that. He's like, I can't find any stocks that are growing 30 to 35% at a PE at 50, so we still like it. That does not sound excited at all. That literally sounds like I'm a growth fund investor. My LPs, my limited partners, gave me money to invest in growth stocks. I can't invest in Coca-Cola. So I'll pick Tesla because they're the only one left that's growing. I mean, that is not a pitch for the stock by any sense of the imagination. But he's being realistic here because obviously he's seeing some of the issues.
You had noted on Twitter, Gary, that past price cuts didn't yield an increase in volume. And there's concern now that Tesla will continue cutting price in order to compensate for higher rates, which would hit the consumer in the form of the auto loan, auto financing. So, to what end do they cut price at this point if you say that the incremental volume is just not materializing?
Yeah, there's been no demand elasticity, despite what Elon says. If you look at where the estimates for 2023 were at the beginning of the year, and then you look at where they are today, they're exactly the same. If you go out to 2024, they're actually lower. So you're not getting any volume growth for these price cuts. So we've been advocating stop cutting price, put some money into advertising, use that as another tool in your marketing toolkit to try to get more volume. Because I don't think by cutting the price of the Model Y from 50,000 to 48,000 is going to get you any more incremental volume. And I'll go so far as to say that if you look at monthly payments of a Model Y today, if you took out a 5-year auto loan and rates have gone from 4% to, let's say, 7.5%, but the price of the Model Y has come down by 20%, the payments are actually lower today than they were a year and a half to 2 years ago. So I don't understand the logic of why they have to keep cutting the price. And look, I think at the end of the day, they're going to see that they're not getting any demand elasticity, despite what they said on the conference call last night. So we think that there might be another couple of price cuts, so we may see margins come down a little bit more. But I go back to, I got a stock trading at 52 times next year's earnings, growing at 35% a year, and I can't find stocks that trade at a PEG of 1.5 in the growth universe.
Right, but Gary, that revenue growth is decelerating, right? The delivery growth is decelerating. And I remember listening to you, I think it was on the last call in April after the Q1 earnings report. And I remember, I think you said that you sold a part of your position. You were not happy with the price cuts. That was all the way back in April. And if I look at this stock and I look at now the 3 reactions the day after it's reported, it's Q1, it's Q2, and it's Q3, it sold off basically 10% each time. So the big money out there is selling on those days. You seem to be very frustrated with his strategy. You seem to not buy the math that he's giving, and the CFO, who does all the math, right? Like, he left a couple months ago without really a statement or anything like that. So maybe there's some funny math going. And I listened to the same call that you listened to, and I give you a lot of credit. I was reading your Twitter this morning. You were being very honest about it. Are you selling, if you were selling stock after the Q1 call when the stock was $175, are you selling stock here at $220? Because it looks like the fundamentals of this company, at least as it relates to the autos, are deteriorating. And if simple math about price elasticity is not working for this company right now, why are you sticking around waiting for that growth to decelerate further? If that's the case, and we haven't even had the recession yet. Okay, so that's the other point I would make.
Yeah. Well, we got
real quick. That's a fair question. That's a very fair question. If the growth is going to deaccelerate, and Elon sounded like it was as well, why are you sticking in the stock as an institutional investor? Remember, all of retail that's in the chat, you guys are long. You can do that. Gary has to report to his LPs, so he can't be long if the stock goes down 20%, right? He can't just weather the storm.
A couple catalysts ahead. So one, the Cybertruck is going to be huge. If you go out and you talk to pickup truck owners, and you got to talk to all of them. You can't just talk to 65-year-olds that drive F-150s. You talk to 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. We go out and we do that. What you find is people love the look of the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck will be out in about 2 weeks. It's going to be a rolling billboard, and you're going to see it, and you're going to get excited about it. And you may not buy a pickup truck, but you're going to go to the Tesla website. You say, wow, that's really neat. What is it? I can't.
All right, so that's Gary's argument against him. And I don't think Gary did that well in that debate. And quite frankly, it's not his fault. It's just the nature of what's going on with Tesla. His argument is Cybertruck is a catalyst. The problem is, look, let me actually read this to you guys. I took a screenshot of this because that's how appalled I was, okay? This is what I took I didn't even know Elon said this yesterday. This is from Tesla's Q3 earnings call, okay? Elon Musk. We dug our own grave with the Cybertruck. It is going to require immense work to reach volume production and be cash flow positive at a price that people can afford. It will take a year to 18 months, and in Elon's case, that probably means 2 to 3 years if we're just being honest here, before it's a significant positive cash flow contributor. So when Gary Black responds to the bear on that clip we just watched saying, oh, well, the reason I'm not selling as an investor that has responsibilities to my LPs to be able to give them return, and Ross Gerber talks about this, right? If a stock falls 10%, if you're an institutional investor, you sell it. You have no motion. The reason Gary's like, I'm not having that same thesis here, even though Tesla's fallen, more than 10% in the past couple of days, is because there's catalysts. What are those catalysts? Well, that catalyst is the Cybertruck. And then you've got Elon himself saying, no, there is no Cybertruck catalyst. We have 18 months until we even think it can be a positive cash flow contributor, until it can even be affordable for the average consumer, and until it can deliver a level of volume that would be exciting enough to get people excited. Now, maybe Cybertruck is that catalyst, but when the horse himself, it's coming out of his mouth, is saying, actually, hold your horses, it's not going to be that big of a catalyst, I don't know if the institutional investors can run to Cybertruck as the core thesis. So then you got to really talk about this. Cybertruck's not a catalyst, okay? And again, I'm giving the bear case. I'll give the bull case in a second, but we're going to do both. Cybertruck's not really a catalyst as per Elon. That's as per Elon. That's not me. That's Elon. Second of all, FSD. We don't know when the hell it's coming. There's a lot of regulatory stuff that's involved with it. If it comes tomorrow, will they be able to monetize it? So, I don't know. Maybe if you want to be generous, give that a 50-50 shot of happening in the next year or two, but having a meaningful impact on Tesla's earnings per share, don't know if that's the case. Then you look at revenue growth. Revenue growth was 9% year over year in Q3. Guess who grew more than Tesla and has pretty shitty growth? Good old Mr. Alex Karp grew his company 13% year over year. Elon's growing at 9% year over year. Now, obviously, Tesla, much more advanced, better company than Palantir in terms of financial metrics. I get it. I'm being facetious here. But the point is the revenue growth has slowed down pretty dramatically. Free cash flow fell off a cliff yesterday. I mean, these are things that I think are important to remember. And the question becomes, will the bull case narrative, this sort of fantasy, and I agree with Christopher Patel, one of my good friends, yesterday on Finance Junkies. By the way, shout out to everyone who showed up to Finance Junkies. It was a great podcast last night. I think he was absolutely correct on making a statement that he made, which was that Cathie Wood created this robo-taxi thesis through her propaganda machine of ARK. And I like Cathie, by the way, especially now that she owns Palantir. I actually really like her a lot. But she created this thesis, and it got people so obsessed with this idea that the robo-taxis are going to take over. And that thesis, if you really look into it, it just has a lot of holes in it. And because she's Cathie and she 20x, 30x, that, people think that thesis makes sense. Maybe that thesis doesn't make sense. That is all of the bare reasons for why it's really scary to think about Tesla at 220, 217 being a phenomenal reason to buy the dip. Okay. Now let's give a little bit of the bull case and then we'll move on. We got 15 minutes until the market open. The bull case is that FSD is coming soon. Volumes are going up. They're going to deliver 1.8 million cars. Toyota finally signed on to the NACS charging standard that Tesla has. So now Toyota is going to throw their hat in the ring and they're like, all right, we're going to start charging with Tesla supercharger networks. Tesla Energy, although it's not growing amazingly, those power walls and the things they're building with the 4680 batteries, that's going to start really having an impact. Tesla Solar might end up being a competitor to Enphase, even though it's not as big yet, but that's some part of the business that's growing. And then if FSD actually rolls out in the next, let's say 3 years, the volumes they will have will allow them to turn on monetization instantly. And on top of that, you've got this Dojo supercomputer thesis that could happen if the exponential growth curve of technology that we've seen with NVIDIA, over the last 2 years happens by 2026. We're going to be in 2024 soon, right? So if the market starts looking forward to 2026 and prices in those multiples, if they see evidence that Cybertruck, FSD, Dojo, Energy, etc., are actually going to be monsters, then that is going to be priced into the stock, and 217 might be really cheap. The question becomes, is that a risk you're willing to take? And personally, I've been very public about this. I'm not willing to take that risk. I'm just not. I'm just not at this market cap, not at 700 billion. And if I miss out on the 10x to 7 trillion, then I missed out. But again, my thesis has always been Palantir at 30 billion to 300 seems way more easier than 700 billion to 7 trillion. And, my bias is that I had Tesla when it was really cheap. I sold too early. That's my mistake. I admitted it already. But now it's getting to a point where it's expensive at 700 billion if my bull case, all the stuff I just mentioned, those 4 catalysts don't really end up happening. And the reason for that is because gross margins are going to come down because prices are going to get cut because Elon doesn't care about advertising. Who knows if advertising even works? And volumes will increase, but the margins from those volumes will not result in any type of meaningful earnings growth. And so it's a question of which one you believe in. It's really a question of which one you believe in. Johnny Mack in the chat has a really good comment. Funny how Kathy pushed the narrative and has been selling out the whole time. This is another thing that's important to recognize, man. Kathy has been pushing the narrative around robo-taxes and all this stuff. She's been selling like a mother effer over the past couple of months. And it's not just because she's balancing her portfolio. No, it's she's been selling, and she's been selling aggressively. Now, did she buy yesterday on the dip? Does anyone know? Did Kathy buy? Let me check real quick. Because if she didn't buy yesterday, she usually buys on the dip. I mean, that's one thing I'll give her credit for. When she tells at like 260, she'll buy at 230 and she'll ride it up, then sell at 270. Like, she's done that at least 7 or 8 times over the past year. No, she did not buy any Tesla. She did not buy any Tesla. That goes to show you that ARK is themselves a little worried about this, even if they're not outwardly saying it. I mean, she's buying Ginkgo Bioworks, for goodness sakes. Like, Ginkgo Bioworks is a dollar stock. She's spending $370,000. Like, you're telling me you can't put that into Tesla at 220? It drops 20%. When a stock drops 20% over the past couple of days, or 15%, whatever it is, you buy that dip. That's a dip you buy. Like, if Palantir fell 15%, 20% yesterday, I would buy it. That means it would go from like 17 to what, 14, 15? I would buy. I would publicly buy. And I've done it. I publicly bought when it fell to 1390. I've tweeted, even if it's only 10 shares, I'm buying, right? Because that's a day as a shareholder, I want to participate in the dip. Kathy's one of the most famous shareholders of Tesla. She's not participating in this dip, which means there's an issue that she sees. At least that's my interpretation of what's going on here. So we'll end up seeing what happens. We'll end up seeing what goes on for Tesla. TJ says, the only major conflict I have in my portfolio is that I think Tesla can bundle solar with a car if they wanted to, so I wouldn't need Enphase at that point. Yeah, I mean, that could happen. I think Enphase is way more advanced in terms of selling solar. I don't think Tesla is that. I don't think Tesla is doing solar the way Enphase is. Could Tesla take some of their lunch? Sure, but I don't think that means that Enphase doesn't have a thesis anymore. The problem with Enphase to me more is interest rates. I really don't think it's the Tesla competition, even though that is, a problem. But it's not seeming like it's a big enough problem because Tesla solar is not growing that dramatically. The biggest issue is, look, whether it's Tesla solar, Enphase solar, no one's financing this solar if interest rates are where they are. And that's the major problem that we're seeing. Let's do an update on some of the things going on in the market. Thank you, 596 people, for being here. I hope you're having a good Friday. Let me know, what are your plans for the weekend? This is going to be a pretty busy weekend for me. I'm going to be working a lot. Next week, I am going to Vegas. I will be in Vegas starting Thursday all the way until Monday next week. I will still be able to do the market open on Friday. I think I won't have to miss a market open because my flight is after on Thursday in the afternoon. We're going to do Finance Junkies on Thursday as well from Vegas. Me and Chris will be there. And I think I'll be able to do the market open on Monday because my flight's at like 2:30. So the market open, I don't think will suffer at all. We will still make sure we're here. But I will be in Vegas next week. And so I've got a lot of work to do this weekend. TFC down 27.80 to 27.85. This is a company I have a big position is. I don't think it deserves to be down right now, but if the entire market's down, obviously TFC is going to be down. PayPal 54.22. If we test 53 today, that will be we're already at a 52-week low, but that'll be a new 52-week low, psychologically seeing 53 for PayPal. SolarEdge, again, it is down 30% in the pre-market at $79 from $115, which means Enphase, suffering down at $100. Again, I also do think in a contrarian way, there may be a lot of dip buyers that are ready to buy at 100 and SolarEdge ready to buy at 70 or 80. But on a day like today, on a Friday in the stock market, maybe those dip buyers don't really show up today. SoFi at 754. They've got earnings soon. Palantir at 1690. So Palantir's down a little bit as well. Nvidia is down to 416. It was at 412 a week ago. It went to 460. Now it's at 416. That is the volatility we're seeing in the stock market. 412 to 460 to 416. Now, one point, given we're talking about volatility, that I do want to mention, because this is important to mention when we're talking about something like a volatility, is that when the VIX goes up, there is something that benefits. When the volatility index goes up, there is something that does benefit. And what benefits is good old Robinhood. Arnie tweeted this today. Volatility spike equals high trading activity. I've actually been starting to learn a lot more about what volatility means for brokerages. And the bull case for high volatility is that there's more trading upside to the upside or downside. And Robinhood doesn't care if you're making money or losing money. They just care that trading is happening on their platform. Now, long term, they want you to make money because that's how you're going to keep coming back to their platform. But that's really good for Robinhood. The bear case for Robinhood earnings coming up on November 7th is that $100 million regulatory fine is going to screw up their gap profitability, and that's probably going to happen. Robinhood now below $9, trading almost right above cash. But if the volatility is up, then Robinhood will have more trading. Will this actually increase Robinhood transaction revenue to end out Q3? Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Or to start Q4, we'll end up seeing. But that is one catalyst of a pretty aggressive market. We've got Chris in the chat. Chris says, tons of lemmings will buy solar stocks. Oh, Chris, I actually wanted to go to your tweets this morning. I was going to pull up to you. So because we're talking about macro, let me pull up what Chris is saying. But this is what I wanted to pull up after I showed the 10-year. There is a bull case for that 10-year, even though it's giving yields of 5%, us being able to get return from the equity markets, because the way to get return from the equity markets is for interest rates to come down, and the way for interest rates to come down is for inflation to come down. So this is what Chris tweeted today. He said rent is declining. These states have had the most impact so far. And if you look at these, this is pretty dramatic. Virginia has rents down 3%, Pennsylvania 4.5%, Florida 5.5%. Let me know if anyone in the chat from these locations can kind of give a little confirmation bias here. Utah down 5%, Nevada 6%, Idaho 8%, Washington 8%, Oregon 10%, Oklahoma 11%, and Montana 15%. Now, I know these are more of the kind of states in the United States that aren't as, let's just call it like luxurious, right? New York, LA, San Francisco, I get it. But you got Washington there. Washington is, Seattle's there. That's a pretty aggressive place in terms of cost of living. And Florida is getting expensive as well. Pennsylvania in the Northeast is also getting a little bit of expensive given, its proximity to New York and New Jersey. So we are seeing rents decline a little bit, which is really important in the context of that shelter index for CPI coming down. Then you've got Chris posting some memes there. Bank of America says SolarEdge at 65, Enphase at 84. I do have to give Chris credit on the podcast. He said Enphase below 100 is definitely happening. Well, it definitely ended up happening. But Bank of America did put out those price targets for Enphase today at 84, SolarEdge at 65. Right now, both of them above those levels in the pre-market. And then here's another thing that Chris has been talking about for a while that I think is interesting is around the housing crash. So right now, the mortgages are at 8% for a 30-year. He writes, shelter CPI is going to be negative by this time next year. If you wanted homes cheap like your grandparents relative to their income, your chance might come soon. It's going to be interesting to see the folks with DSCR loans and how they're going to deal with lower rents in the Airbnb market crash. I foresee foreclosures. And the reason he's saying he foresees foreclosures is because Americans have been building vacation home empires with easy money loans. And now this has been something we're talking about on the podcast for a while, right? Which is that there have been, if you just go on TikTok and you type in real estate Airbnb, you will see a ton of millennials, people my age, right? 25, 26, 27, taking out loans against whatever they can take a loan against and basically buying out these Airbnb homes that are like luxurious vacation places and then renting them out and making money from Airbnb. It's like there's a literal niche on social media called Airbnb entrepreneurs. They didn't, to be able to amalgamate those types of properties, you need to have a lot of capital. If you don't have that capital, you have to take loans. If you have to take those loans, well, you need to be able to make income from those Airbnbs to pay back on those loans. And that's likely not going to happen if there's going to be a housing crash. In fact, that might contribute to the bubble we're seeing right now for a housing crash. So Chris was talking about this back in I think March, that this Airbnb phenomena is a real thing. And with mortgages at 8%, it might end up being one of those canaries in the coal mine that leads us to see a little bit of some problems in the broader ecosystem for the housing market. Now, that's a good thing for stocks because we need those mortgages to come down. We need, to see deflation or at least disinflation in the housing sector to get the Fed to be more excited to lower interest rates. But that is one of the bull cases for why stocks might be cheap, even with a 10-year giving you 5%, because there are catalysts that will lead to some decline in the broader sector when it comes to CPI. Let's check out oil prices right now. Today, currently, oil is yesterday was at 91. Today it's at 93. That's just great. Phenomenal. Absolutely great. Why not? Why wouldn't oil be 93? Oil's up even more today. Oil is $1 away from where it was in September. September high was 94.36. Oil's at 93 right now. If you look at year to date, the lowest we had was 71, March 15th. That was close to that Silicon Valley collapse. Then we hiked back up to 82. Then we stayed pretty normal at 70 throughout the summer. Then we hiked back up to the 90s in September, and we're back there at 93. We got to 85 in October. The reason for this is not only the Middle Eastern crisis with Israel and Hamas, but also further sanctions on Russian oil from the United States that came out a week ago. We're getting more aggressive with Russian oil. So, you're going to have lack of supply when it comes to the oil markets. On top of that, the United States wants to fill out the strategic oil reserves with 6 million barrels by, I think, January of next year. I don't know what price we're going to pay for those barrels of oil, but it's going to be expensive to refill them. It's not going to be cheap. And as a result of that, it's just not going to necessarily be beneficial for oil writ large. Let's look at the chat a little bit. Jeremy says, dude, I'm not seeing a drop in rent here. I live in a hot area. My neighbors rented their house for $5,800 a month. It's nuts. I bought at the right time. Yeah, I mean, look, I feel so bad for people buying right now, bro. Like, my parents got locked into a great price in December of 2020. My mom negotiated hard. We got a really nice house for the price. I think we paid $557, something like that, in the mid 500s. And it's a really nice house. And now the house is worth upwards of $750 right now, right? So, and we got a pretty low mortgage rate. So if you bought in that 2021 time, you got a good deal. And right now, and that goes to the further narrative around this idea that the housing market has to crash. I mean, who's buying at 8%? Who is buying? It's just hard to imagine that people my age are going to be buying, or, even the baby boomers, are they going to be able to buy? One thesis for why the economy also is not going to crash, I was hearing the other day, is that as the boomers are retiring, they're going to give their wealth or their assets to the millennials, and that will give the millennials the disposable income they need to be able to do what they need to do. I think that's an interesting thesis. I don't know how many boomers have that much money to give to people or assets necessarily, but that is one thesis to consider on the macro when it comes to thinking about housing prices and overall stability of the economy. All right, we got about 3 minutes till the market opens. Again, today, all eyes are on Enphase. Enphase down 13% in the pre-market. SolarEdge down 31%. It's been a long time since I've seen a stock down 31% in the pre-markets. NEO down another 2%. They can't get any love. Netflix surprisingly green in the pre-market. We'll see how it ends up reacting. And Tesla down another 2% in the pre-markets. I think today will be a day where the market makes a decision on, is it really concerned about the growth in the future, and are they going to take it out on the stocks or on these growth stocks, right? Tesla and Enphase, or are they willing to overlook that for future growth? Logically, there is no reason, in my opinion, to even participate in this dip right now for Tesla and Enphase, unless you have a 10-year time horizon. And even with a 10-year time horizon, it just does not make sense. If margins are coming down, revenue is going to come down, EPS is going to come down. It's just hard to imagine where is the growth coming from, right? Being very, very objective here. And Elon said it himself. He said Cybertruck's not going to be cash flow positive for 18 months. And then same thing with Enphase. If Jerome doesn't want to lower rates because he thinks the consumer is healthy, and look, even when they do lower rates, think about it from the best case scenario. Let's say in March, let's be super, super optimistic. Jerome's like, all right, we're going to lower 25 basis points. It's going to go from 5.25% to 5%. It's still high. Solar is still high. Buying a new car is still high. It's not like interest rates, interest rates have to go down 100, 150 basis points for us to see really material, changes in regards to these financing costs. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily going to change that much. And so I think we got to think what's going to end up happening over the next couple months. All right, here we go. Market is opening. What do we have? We've got 1 more minute. The other company I want to look at also is PayPal. All right, here we go. PayPal officially $53. Just beautiful. $53.91. I'm in it with PayPal. I've got 10 grand in this company. It's probably worth like 6 grand right now. But PayPal, I really do think is just undervalued. I don't think anything is really broken about that thesis at all. I use it every day. Their growth, I think, is fine. Braintree, people don't talk about enough, is growing 30% year over year. It's just a stock that's in a little bit of trouble. So we'll see if the market's not giving growth stocks a benefit. Will the market give some of these other potential deep value plays a benefit today? Or does everything basically crap the bed, given the fact that this 10-year is inching above 5%? Am I buying more PayPal today? No, probably not. I bought enough PayPal over the past 2 weeks. I'm good. Bought enough PayPal. I like having a $10,000 position. That's enough for me at PayPal. We'll see where it goes from there. Oh, we'll also talk about Bitcoin. We'll talk, because out of everything that's, sucks today, there is one thing that's doing pretty well, and that is good old Bitcoin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is here, 9:30 a.m., October 10th or October 20th, 2023. Thank you all for being here. Hope you're having a good Friday. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's begin. Friday morning, 9:30 a.m. Here we go. PayPal at 53.98, down 1.51%. SolarEdge, 35% down. I wouldn't be surprised if this stock gets halted in a little bit. $74 right now, down 34%. That's tough. Tough to stomach. Enphase, as a result of that, is officially below $100 at $99.36, down 14%. Enphase is down 14% on the day. The reason Enphase is down is because of SolarEdge earnings. Nothing Enphase has said themselves. SolarEdge tanked the bed. As a result, Enphase is going down with it. Rocket Labs down a little bit. ChargePoint down 2.7%. Truist up a little bit. So the regional getting a little bit of love. Netflix is up today, 1.10%. Look, if you bought Netflix at $350, that was a hell of a buy. And it was a contrarian buy. So shout out to anyone who got Netflix at $350, now at $405. Tesla down another 1.73% today, now at $216. Going to be very interesting over the next 30 minutes to see if Tesla falls below 210 or if it stays in that range. Now Tesla 215.88. S&P 500 at 425. This stock was at, or this index was at 438 just 5 days ago, 4 days ago, now at 425. It's $6 away from that 200-day moving average, hitting back to that 420 level. Palantir down 1.26% today, now at $16.85. SoFi at $7.57. Ethereum at $16.01. Let's go to Bitcoin. We didn't discuss it. All market open. Here you go. If you own Bitcoin, you're doing well today. Bitcoin up 2.66% at 29,500. This was at 28,145. So if you bought the dip on Bitcoin, you are up today. At close to 30,000. It touched 30,242 for a little bit, then fell back down to 29,494. Coinbase is up 1.8% as a result of that. Riot Platforms up 3.4%. Marathon up 3.72%. Robinhood, again, there's a lot of crypto exposure to Robinhood, but Robinhood is down today at 892. The volatility index going up, probably good for Robinhood, but Robinhood is down today. And the other company that should be up is CleanSpark. Yep, CleanSpark, another Bitcoin miner. I actually talked to the chief executive of CleanSpark about a year ago. And it's a really interesting company, very interesting company. They actually sold Bitcoin at the top at 61,000. I confronted him. I was like, so why'd you paper hand Bitcoin? And he was like, well, it was the top, so we sold. And so that company now at 4% on the day because of Bitcoin. JP Morgan is down. Wells Fargo is down. Costco's down a little bit. Southwest Airlines down with all the other airlines. Airlines had a tough week as per United and American Airlines earnings forecasting. ARM, look at that. I think this is the first time I'm seeing ARM. But yeah, this is the first time ARM is officially below. ARM is officially below their IPO price. ARM at $49 is officially below that IPO price. It is happening below $51. I don't even want to check out Instacart, but let's look at Instacart. Instacart, $24.60, $6 below that IPO price as well. So, I mean, look, we talked about it pretty openly on the market open. It didn't take a genius to figure out that those two IPOs were the most hyped IPOs in this macroeconomic environment. It was just not the easiest companies to get behind. ARM, not suffering that much if you got an F51 at 49, but it is still down. And it's down because the entire market has a lot of volatility to deal with, and ARM's not going to be forgotten in that volatility. Microsoft is at 329. Duolingo is down 2%. It was down about 10% yesterday. The reason for that is because Google has launched a new language learning product via AI. It was a TechCrunch article that came out yesterday, and Duolingo immediately dropped 8% on the news. I don't think that's going to take Duolingo's lunch, to be honest. I mean, Google can launch whatever competitor they want. Duolingo has a cult-like brand. It's at a $6 billion market cap, and people are obsessed with this product. So, it's kind of like a Spotify, Apple Music situation to me. I mean, people use Spotify because they love the product. I don't think Duolingo is going anywhere, but it is more competition that's going to make it tough, and it just proves Google, which is down 1% on the day at 136, is a beast, and AI is going to be a big moat that applies to a variety of different industries. SLG at $32. They had a pretty good earnings, up 1.64%. Meta down from $324, now at $313 on the day. Again, Meta also had a pretty decent, well, Meta didn't have earnings yet, but they had a pretty decent couple of conferences over the past couple of weeks, basically showing all their new technology. And I think it will be a positive catalyst for the stock. The problem is it's trading at like a 35 times PE, and it's getting a little expensive, even though I think the revenue growth is going to more than justify the valuation. I think they're going to really turn on the levers. I think Google and Meta are going to kill earnings. But at 313, you got to start asking yourself, all right, is this the best valuation that I'm getting at when it comes to Verizon? Glitch Life, thank you for being in the chat. Good morning, fam. Another beautiful day in the world. Also, Mitt, you look like you have lost a ton of weight, bro. You look good. Shout out to Glitch Life. This was one of my earliest subscribers. For Glitch Life, people don't know your story. I think in March they shorted the S&P 500 and they made like $800,000 off like 40,000. It's some ridiculous return. I'm probably getting the numbers wrong, but they retired. So shout out to Glitch Life. I love Glitch Life. They retired because they shorted the market. In a span of 5 days, they were set up for life. I mean, that's how crazy the stock market is, that in a matter of 5 days, you can be set for life by retiring. Now I think they live on a farm and they grow chickens or something. I don't know what Glitch Life does anymore, but that is a success story, and that shows how the markets can, kind of really help you. Verizon, $31.89. This is a stock that Christopher Patel, my fellow finance junkie, is very excited about. The reason he's excited about this is because the stock is down from about $50 at its high. And the reason it's down is because of a Wall Street Journal article that came out in July in regards to their lead in cables. I mean, that really is what tanked Verizon, AT&T, a lot of these companies. And to Christopher's point, it doesn't deserve to be trading at this level. So this is one of those companies he's incredibly excited about. The dividend yield on Verizon, get this, is 8.34%. If it gets back to normal, which is its normal dividend yield of about 4.2%, the stock should be around $45, $50. So this is, and I think Chris likes to find these situations. This is why he's excited about this thesis. I've noticed his investing style is, what is a company that is not just undervalued, but is so aggressively undervalued that if you get into it at the aggressive undervaluation, you not only get capital appreciation, but you also get a dividend yield. And that's what he did with Truist when he rode Truist from $27 to about $38. So Verizon might be another scenario. The debt that they have, which is what everyone's going to point to, is low interest debt that they already locked in at interest rates far below the current average. And Verizon is everywhere, right? Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, at least in the United States, have basically a monopoly in terms of the internet, 5G, fiber optics, phone connection, all that stuff. So Verizon is one that I don't have a position in yet. I'm doing more due diligence trying to understand Chris's thesis, but this is one that I think is important to look into. We've been talking about on Finance Junkies a lot. If the stock goes back from 31 to 50 and you're getting paid 8% to hold the stock, that is an incredible opportunity. And those opportunities don't come often, but it's important to obviously understand the risks that Verizon may have as a company as well. Amit, are you buying anything? No, I have no cash. I'm not buying anything. I did buy over the past couple of weeks. I bought when the S&P was at 419, so I think I got some pretty low prices. I got SoFi lower than where we're at right now. I got PayPal at like 54, 55. Now PayPal's at 53. So I guess I missed the bottom on PayPal, but I'm happy with the buying I did over the past couple of weeks. Now you kind of just got to let it play out and see what ends up happening. Another point, yeah, it's recession resistant. That's another thing. It's similar to Google in that respect, that interest rates don't really affect Verizon as much given the nature of their business model. And because obviously during a recession, you still need internet, right? You still need to watch Netflix. That Netflix needs an internet provider to give you, like Netflix has to make the content during a recession. Verizon just has to give you the internet, like you're more likely to cancel the Netflix, the internet company versus the actual provider of the internet. So that is another point of thesis there that is important to understand. Let's look at Enovix. We haven't looked at Enovix in a long time. Enovix here, $10 down 1% on the day. Yeah, Enovix has gotten beaten up over the past couple of weeks as well, but obviously this is a very hype growth stock that does have a thesis, but that thesis will take a long time to play out. All right, let's check back on Enphase. Enphase now at $100, recovering a little bit from 99, down 13%. So there are some dip buyers. 2.2 million shares have traded hands, a market cap of now $13.75 billion. Enphase lost $1.5 billion in market capitalization. Here's the question. Enphase has about $1 billion to spend on share buybacks. Will they do it? Will they do it? That is the question on Enphase. Now, Enphase might have already done it at 116, 115. We won't know until their 10K comes out on their earnings. But if there was any time to maybe buy the dip, maybe today. I mean, look, it could go much lower, right? At this point, Enphase, who knows where it's going to go to. But if I was management, I feel like I would nibble with that 1 billion if I have not deployed any of that 1 billion at this price. SolarEdge down 32%, $77. It was at 74, so it recovered just a little bit. It was down about 35%. Now it's down about 32%. But still, I mean, when's the last time we saw a stock fall 30% in a day? This is really giving 2022 energy. Like, I have not seen a stock fall 30. I mean, I remember seeing Meta go from 320 to 260 in one day. I was at work. I remember this is like what, February 2022? Yeah, this is February. I remember looking at my Robinhood and I was like, oh, I had 10 shares of Meta. I was like, oh, that's not good. This kind of down. It's 260 is smaller than 320. So that's the last time I remember seeing those. I mean, Netflix, right? When we saw it go from like 400 to 240 in a day or in a couple of days. This is one of those scenarios we're seeing. And we haven't seen that in a long time. Truist down 1.7% at 27.58. Netflix continuing to do well, 1.67% up. Tesla staying steady at 216, down 1.43%. Palantir 1680, down 1.55% on the day. One of the larger problems in the context of Palantir is, again, their growth coming up on earnings. The biggest issue that I'm seeing with going into earnings is what are they going to be able to do to manufacture growth? One of the articles that came out today on The Register, which is a publication, again, in the United Kingdom, pointed that the announcement is not only delayed, it's now seeming like Palantir is submitting some types of customer testimonials to the NHS to further confirm that they're going to get the deal. I'm going to go through the article a little bit later, but basically the article said Palantir is like submitting more customer testimonials around what's going on with the use cases in the NHS. So we really don't know if we're going to get an announcement. And the problem we have going on to earnings, and the reason I'm being a little bearish here, is because we just saw Tesla collapse because of a lack of good earnings. We just saw Enphase collapse because of a lack of good earnings. Palantir might be one of the next companies if earnings don't live up to the hype. And look, we've got to be objective about this, because I've been objective about stocks that I don't own, like Enphase and Tesla. I've got to be objective about a stock that I do own. Palantir at 1680, $36 billion. If the revenue is not there on November 2nd, if the growth is not there, if management, hadn't deployed any capital for share buybacks, if there's just not enough outside of GAAP profitability, you got to ask yourself, what is the street going to think? And there might be a world where the street's like, you know what, we just can't justify the valuation, even though I believe personally AI is a better catalyst than solar panels. And so the growth, I think, will come. But the problem is, if it's not there right now, you might get a price that's just better than this price. Just like on Tesla, the growth's probably going to be there, but the price may be better right now if the growth's not there right now, because the market's not factoring in that future growth in terms of the valuation today. And so we're going to end up seeing what happens to Palantir over the next couple of weeks. We only have 12 days left till earnings, so we will know soon what's going on. SoFi is one of those companies I do think that is going to crush, as we have in the chat. The reason I think SoFi is going to crush, quite frankly, is because their member growth, I think, will be good, even if it's not better than 584,000. And one of the other things about SoFi is their student loan originations, even if it inches towards $1 billion, I think will be enough to get the market excited. Now, deposit growth needs to keep up at 2.2 billion. And hopefully the market starts to recognize that SoFi really is stealing some share from the big banks. But I think there's a shot we could run back to that 950 level on earnings if a lot of catalysts come into place. Do I think it sustains itself? Honestly, no. I think it'll get sold off right after earnings. Just like I think if we get an earnings pump on any company, Google, Amazon, they will get sold off a bit, because in this macro environment, it's just not exciting with higher interest rates to invest in a bank. And at the end of the day, SoFi is still a bank. And one of the other problems about SoFi, that tech platform, Galileo, they better show some serious growth in earnings, because if they don't, this whole fantasy we have about them getting a tech multiple, it's not happening. It's just not happening. And quite frankly, I don't think that tech multiple is coming for another couple of years, because I think they're still building out the moat of that, of Galileo, of Technisys. Right now, it's up to the banks, up to the bank business. And if the bank can't perform, then SoFi might also be in some trouble. Doesn't matter what Palantir goes down to if you have bought below 10 and holding for a long time. Yeah, I agree. Remember, let my short-term bearishness on the stock not reflect my long-term trajectory of the company. If Palantir falls to 11, to 12, I will be publicly buying on this market open stream. You guys will see me buying, because I want this stock. I want this stock. I've said below 15 is really my buy, and I've obviously bought below 15. Below 14 is just, I love it. But below 15 is where I really like to buy. If we get to 13, 12, 11 again, I'm buying. I am fully convinced on my thesis. My thesis is not broken at all for the long-term trajectory of the company. I trust Alex Karp, even though a lot of people don't. And so I want more shares. So quite frankly, I wouldn't care if we have a dip on earnings. Just like, Vitaly, I know a lot of people are giving him shit today. He loves Enphase. He believes in the Enphase thesis. He wants Enphase at $100. So, I mean, a lot of people, they're using their Twitter fingers and they're talking their shit. And, Vitaly's a public figure now. He's part of the media. He has to deal with it. I have to deal with it. If you choose to make content, you have to deal with people talking shit. But remember, the last guy who laughs is the one who makes money. And I think Enphase necessarily is not broken over the long term, and he wants it at 99. So now he's going to get a chance to get it. Now, is he actually happy at buying it at 99? We'll see. On the next Finance Junkies, we'll see how much pain is in his voice. If there's a lot of pain, we'll know he's sadly buying the dip. If there's a lot of happiness, maybe he's actively buying the dip. Chris in the chat says, Nubank is a better play. I still remember debating Tanner and then convinced him to become a shareholder. Look up Nubank Amit. Nubank's growth, I've listened to Tanner speak about this, is absolutely phenomenal in Latin America. It's at 818. I know Chris and Tanner talked about it when it was at $4. The biggest hesitation, I think, to Nubank has been their market cap. It's at 38 billion. It was at basically 20 billion when you guys were recommending it. And everyone was like, 20 billion is ridiculous to pay for this type of a company. But their growth is insane. I mean, I don't know their growth rates on the top of my head, but if you look at their growth in Latin America, it is absolutely insane. I mean, it's really quite ridiculous how well they've been able to penetrate their market. And that CEO is a what's his name? Is a Anthony Noto type CEO in terms of pure execution as well. So Nubank is a very interesting company. I'm actually pulling them up right here. Yeah, the revenue growth is 98%. 3-year revenue growth 187%. Yearly revenue 2022 they did 2.9 billion in revenue. 2021 they did 1.14 billion. So basically 100% year-over-year growth in terms of revenue on Nubank. It's an interesting one. I have to go a lot more deeper to understand it. SoFi, I think I understand better, which is why I like SoFi. But Nubank is a company that I think people should look into as well. He wanted it at 122. At what price will he have gone all in by? I don't know how much Enphase is of Vitaly's portfolio. I would say it's greater than 50% if I had to guess. But again, he was buying at 180, 150, 120. He'll be buying at 100. He likes this company. He likes the stock. He likes the thesis. And to his credit, right? My whole rant today on Enphase, and I think on Finance Junkies yesterday, what we were talking about, is the issue with Enphase is rates are high. When rates come down, even if it's 5 years from now, solar should be fine, just like it was fine over the past decade in terms of growth trajectories, all that stuff. The question, here's the underlying question, and this is what really shakes your conviction if you're an Enphase shareholder. In the next 5 years, let's be super conservative and say rates aren't going to come down meaningfully in the next 5 years, right? I'm talking about 2%, 1% interest rates again, which we may never get again, but let's just say 3-4 years, 5 years. In the next 5 years, will other companies be competitive enough to take away Enphase's moat? Will there be more competition, from a Tesla, from a, Chris is pointing out Hoy Miles, which is some company that apparently is innovative in the microinverter space. And will people and the general market not care about the growth story anymore? Because if you go 5 years without growth, or 3 years without growth, or even 2 years without growth, at that point, is it a dead stock? Is it dead money? I think that's the biggest fear for Enphase. It's not that the thesis won't come true if you give it enough time. The question is the opportunity cost of that time strong enough for the thesis to break? Because the thesis is interest rates go down, Enphase does fine. But if the time it takes for interest rates to come down in order for Enphase to do fine, will there be some thesis breaking issues that happen over those next 3-4 years? And Jerome Powell, quite frankly, will unilaterally decide what happens with a company like that. And that's what we have to think about. Chris, obviously being bearish in the chat, no solar will not be fine. So you've got his perspective that solar is not going to be okay going in towards the future. And look, there's a lot of investors that might think the same as well. And the other thing is Enphase is a very retail heavy stock. If the retail sentiment towards solar changes, because people like Chris are yapping their mouths every day that solar is not actually going to be as fine as we think it's going to be. Remember, the bull case is that solar has 4 to 5% penetration. Obviously, you want it to have 50, 60% penetration over the next decade. So there's a lot of growth from 4 to 50%. If that thesis goes away in the mind of retail, just like if the thesis of AI goes away in the mind of retail, companies like Palantir, Nvidia, et cetera, they decline because that thesis disappears. If the robo-taxi thesis disappears for Tesla, guess who's Tesla's biggest investor base is? Retail. Retail has to buy into that thesis. If retail doesn't buy into that thesis anymore, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. PayPal at 54.24 right now. Let's check on Tesla. Tesla at 215, down another 2.2%. It was down from 216. S&P 500 actually inching higher a little bit at 426. Palantir also gapping up a little bit at 1688. ASML down 0.78% or up 0.78%, down 5% for the week at 591. And Nvidia at 423. This one was down a little bit at 415 in the pre-market. NASDAQ at 13,172, down 14 points as well. SoFi actually green at 765. SolarEdge recovering a little bit at 81. So the dip has been bought. $4 billion market cap, 5.63 million shares have traded hands. Let's check SolarEdge's revenue growth real quick. Let me pull this up. SolarEdge's revenue growth. So it's a $4.62 billion market cap, okay? That's what you're paying for SolarEdge right now if you're buying it. $4 billion in terms of market cap per share. I'm pulling up this revenue growth real quick, and I want to see how much is their revenue actually growing as well. Chris says no one gives a crap about microinverters. Solar is cyclical and Enphase is a hardware sales company, not a good combination. That is one thing to think about. Enphase was being priced like a tech company, and it's a hardware sales company. That's one of the things I really also never understood about Enphase, because, you know, given I've been in tech companies, I'm not saying I'm the most successful investor, but I understand what a tech multiple is. And Enphase, to my understanding, was a hardware company. They sold microinverters. There's tech involved, but it's not like SaaS, you know? So that's one of those things that's interesting to think about when it comes to Enphase. Okay, revenue in 2022 for SolarEdge was 3.1 billion. Revenue in 2021 was 1.96 billion. So they're growing a little bit above 100% year over year when it comes to revenue. Profit has grown 680% year over year. This is why people like SolarEdge. Again, you combine the solar thesis on top of their growth. Growth rates are absolutely phenomenal. Revenue growth year over year over the past couple of years has been 46% if you look at a 3-year basis on it. So that's why the growth is really interesting. Market cap now $4 billion. The question becomes, does the market think that growth is going to continue into the future? Is it going to keep growing at that level? Is going to be the question for a company like SolarEdge. Y'all realize Enphase is a software company as well. I don't think anyone's denying there's software involved in Enphase. The question is, are they making money off their software? Like, are they getting reoccurring gross margins of 80% off their software? To my understanding, Enphase's gross margins are 45% off hardware. Like, and that's great that's phenomenal. To get 45% off some microinverters, that's phenomenal. But that doesn't mean that those are software margins. Crossroads says still bullish, but since PayPal is now completely divorced from PayPal fundamentals, there's no reason it can't make a new 52-week low every day until earnings. Yeah, that is true. That can definitely happen for PayPal. PayPal right now at $54.20 on the day. Let's take a look at what Twitter is saying about Enphase. Let's do some due diligence on the streets in the real world, which is Twitter, because we know that Twitter is the real world when it comes to finance. Here's what we're going to do on Twitter. We are going to do something called hashtag search, where you do hashtag ENPH, and we're going to filter by latest and see what people have to say. Let me change this camera. Okay, here we go. So what's going on in Enphase? Great lesson on Enphase by Simple Invest. Wise to buy a powerful business at a very low price instead of panicking and heading for the hills. BTW, solar stocks are notoriously cyclical. Okay, so let's take a bull thesis. Enphase is down 20% after the SolarEdge preliminary results. At 100 per share, Enphase is pricing in just 3-year free cash flow multiple growth rates at 15 times EV to free cash flow. I am buying Enphase at these levels, as I shared with members earlier, due to significantly smaller Europe exposure than SolarEdge, Enphase under penetration in most of Europe and expanding in many European countries to offset weakness. Okay, that's interesting that you like the smaller Europe exposure, but then you're also happy that they're penetrating Europe. I guess maybe you think Europe's a growth place for them, but also I don't know why Europe's that good if SolarEdge has more exposure. Excellent history of beating expectations relative to SolarEdge. This is just a bad reason because Enphase sucked the past couple of earnings. This is a horrible reason, quite frankly. Depressed valuations, that's fine, right? The valuation is depressed. And then he goes into his Seeking Alpha article. Well, so you got some bullishness on Enphase there. All right, let's see what other people are saying. We got some gaps on SolarEdge and Enphase. SolarEdge horrible earnings, revenue down a lot, so not to touch. Enphase, people still hope for earnings. If earnings come good, will be like a Netflix pump. However, bad will be worse than a Tesla dump. I agree. If it's bad, it will be worse than a Tesla dump. You got other people saying Enphase at 2.5 million shares traded. Given the size of gap volume, this gap is either exhaustion or run away. Enphase gap below the top. Enphase, oh, how the mighty have fallen. There's going to be a lot of people either taking their pick of the litter when it comes to Enphase if they're bearish, or saying that, you know, this is a company you want to buy and you should be bullish on Enphase today. Pain pal. Yeah, pain pal. That's what we can imagine from what we're seeing here. Let's go back into some of the charts a little bit, and then we'll get into a couple of other stories. Enphase now, again, the story of the day, recovering just a little bit at 102, down 11%. SolarEdge down 27%. So either the bulls are going to buy some of this dip, or the bears are going to continue to sell it off. On a Friday where the market has necessarily been bad the whole week, Fridays tend to be okay. But on a Friday where the 10-year is inching at 5%, it might not be the best for the market. Palantir at 1670 as well. Let's get some macro analysis in on what's going on in the markets, some of the people on the street, and see what they have to say. Here's Tom Lee, our good friend, saying, don't worry, because tech will be resilient, even with what we're seeing right now.
Let's go to somebody who probably knows what's going to happen, and that is Fundstrat Global Advisors managing partner and head of research, Tom Lee, also a CNBC contributor. Aside from my sloppy writing there, Tom, hopefully the point was made. Can stocks and interest rates both keep rising?
Actually, those were good points you brought up, Brian, because that is market history. You know, the 10-year has averaged around 5% since 1960. So, you know, we're at a level that's where yields historically are. And as we know, during that period of time, the S&P has averaged 13% annual returns. I know it's really uncomfortable right here because, as you said, we started at 1% and now we're at 5%. And that's a pretty good competitor to, you know, a lot of stocks. But at the end of the day, I might even just add the economy, and Fed Chair Powell said that today, seems to be handling 5% incredibly well.
So history, of course, is key. And while we just kind of made the bull case for stocks, I will throw in a bit of a wild card. In 2003 to 2006, Tom, as you well know, we did not have $33 trillion in debt. We did not have $2 trillion per year in annual deficits. We did not have two simultaneous necessarily wars, of course, obviously Afghanistan, going on like we do now, but particularly on the debt side. Is this time different because of that? Because now we're going to be spending about $1 trillion a year just on interest on the national debt.
Yeah, that is a big difference. You know, this time in 2003, 2006, households and corporates were highly levered. You know, debt service was unsustainable for households. And of course, we know that there was razor thin equity. So the cushion quickly disappeared as home prices fell. In this cycle, there's very little borrowing from households. As you know, even now, 30% of people are buying homes with cash. Companies are underlevered, and we know defaults are quite low and high yields actually performing pretty well. But the government has a lot more borrowing. If you ask me, I'd rather see the government with more leverage than the private sector, because I think the government has a better ability to deal with it. And so I don't think that this should be punishing stocks. In fact, to me, it's still a good setup for equities.
Although I would say that we are the government, Tom. As you know, $100,000 just hit yesterday in national debt for every man, woman, and child in this fine land. But that aside, is there a yield? Is there a number on the 10-year that would break stocks? Because it's also not just the number. It's the speed at which we get there, because you can literally in the bond market sometimes move fast and break things.
Brian, I think we're going to see the cracks really emerge either in the private sector, somewhere either in households. If levels get to a level where defaults really start to have convexity, meaning they start to jump at higher rates because we're pushing higher, or we see it in like floating rate debt by corporates, if there starts to be stress there. But I would say, fortunately, there might be little cracks, but nothing that looks like big fractures taking place yet. But
and leave us,
right, there's going to be a level.
Okay, leave us with an idea. Let's end on a bullish note. One part of the market, stocks, one sector, whatever that you and your team like right now, even in this rate environment.
Well, I think many sectors are holding up pretty well, Brian. I mean, over half of the S&P is still up positive year to date. In the NASDAQ, it's closer to 60%. I would say technology remains the group that's going to be the most robust and resilient in the face of all this. And that's why I think fundamentally the FANGs are justifying their performance. I mean, a stock like Netflix today is a good example of that.
So we got Tom, who's bullish. And why wouldn't he be? He's got to be bullish. I mean, look, Tom, I know a lot of people give him a lot of crap for being a permanent bull. He's actually one of the most objective people I've met. Not I've met personally, but that I've heard. If you listen to him on some podcasts that are not CNBC, by the way, Palantir now down at 1665, nasty little 2.3% decline there. He talks to about 100 clients a week. He was talking about on on a podcast, and he speaks to a lot of them and he gets a lot of perspectives. And so he forms his bullish take not on something ideological, but more so on the vast amount of time. I think he talks to more people than most regular analysts really do because he has so many clients and because he has such a big brand. And he, he said September was going to suck. He was pretty objective on that. He said October would be a little bit better, which it was. October's a little bit better, but we still got 10 days left of October. We'll see how it ends up ending out. But Tom thinks that, look, in this interest rate environment, stocks can survive if you believe that there is a better return than 5% on that 10-year. And that's why he sees companies like Netflix and some other of the big tech companies doing well. Netflix at 407 up today. Tesla recovering a little bit at 217, down 1.33%. Let me know in the chat if you are buying the Tesla or Enphase dip. I want to see who are the brave souls out there that are buying this company. Because, I mean, look, if you're buying Tesla and Enphase here with all the FUD going on right now, maybe that FUD is real, maybe that FUD is not real, then I think you really believe in these companies. I personally do not believe in both of them as much as other people do, which is why I'm not buying. But this is the day where I think, obviously you can get lower prices, but this is one of those days where even if you buy one or two shares, you believe that there is a lot of long-term potential for a company like Enphase and Tesla, even with the headwinds coming up. Truist at 27.30, down 2.69%. One of the things about Truist, I know I talked about it yesterday, but their deposits increased 1.2 billion quarter over quarter at a time when other banks are losing deposits. So, at Truist, not perfect at all. They've got a lot of issues, but in terms of being a regional bank that is severely undervalued, for them to increase deposits and their digital footprint, they have like 72 million transactions every month on their digital Truist app. I didn't even know the digital Truist app was growing as high as it's growing. It has like 4 million users now. So they're definitely finding some of the verticals to get into along with the sale of their insurance business. Not a horrible earnings, but obviously the market punishing them for being a stock that in the broader ecosystem has to deal with a 10-year being at 5%. Amazon at 126, Google at 138, CleanSpark, Robinhood, Marathon, Riot, all the Bitcoin stocks are up today. Bitcoin now at 29,712. We'll see if it can inch back up to that $30,000 level on Bitcoin. But Bitcoin right now at 29,700. The 10-year, let's get an update on that real quick. I think we're at 4.93. We were at 4.92. Okay, so falling a little bit, not too bad. It was at 5 officially in this morning, which I think spooked out a lot of the equity markets, but we were at 4.93. Benny says, Amit, you've said for months how you believe in Tesla long-term and now you don't after one bad earnings. No, I think Tesla long-term will be fine. The problem is this earnings is likely going to be replicated given the fact that interest rates are not coming down anytime soon. That's the problem. That is the biggest problem for Tesla. Again, look, I don't think 220 is necessarily cheap, just like I didn't think 270 was cheap. And everyone in the world was telling me 270 was cheap. Not necessarily everyone here in the chat, but there's a lot of people that were like, well, you're going to miss the train to 300. And it's just like, dude, I mean, Warren Redlick, for goodness sakes, came on the podcast and said it should be worth $295 a share. And he basically scolded me for not buying Tesla. I'm like, all right, man, you can say that when you have a $16 average. You can't say that when you are creating a $290 average. I mean, that's just fucking stupid, quite frankly. Like that's just it's just being idiotic at that point. So I don't think this is cheap either. And if I missed the run up, then fine. I mean, look, here's what I'll say. It's the same thing around Bitcoin, right? If I buy Bitcoin at 30,000, I'm looking for a 3x for me to take that much of a risk with my capital. If I'm buying something that is this risky, if I'm not buying a dividend stock, I want at minimum a 3x, given my age and given how long I want to hold it. The risk I'm taking for a 3x does not give me the reward. If you look at something like a Tesla, a 3x on Tesla from 800 billion is what, 2.4 trillion? Yeah, that's a lot to ask for Tesla. That means the stock goes to like 600, 650 a share. That's a lot. I would rather buy SoFi. I would rather buy Palantir to get that 3x. I'm so unemotional about this. I want a 3x. I think that's a reasonable. It's not as crazy as a 5x. It's not as small as a 2x. And I know a 2x isn't small, but I think a 3x is in that middle spot if you're holding something for 5 to 10 years. To get a 3x, I want the least amount of risk. And I think a SoFi has less risk than a Tesla or a Bitcoin. Quite frankly, that's what I believe. And so that's kind of the problem. Martin says, got to disagree with your Tesla take. They shut down their plans for upgrades. It was a bad quarter as a result. Martin, the only pushback I'll give you here is that they will have to continue reducing prices on those vehicles which will hurt their margins, which will hurt their revenue growth writ large, even if they have increased volume, which will hurt their earnings per share because of the current state of the economic climate. Now, if Jay Powell lowers rates, that argument goes down the drain. The problem is I don't think he's lowering rates anytime soon. And that's the problem. So I could totally be wrong about the Tesla thesis if the macro environment changes overnight. And look, I think disinflation is coming in a lot of areas, but I don't think we're seeing a lowering of rates to such a degree that Tesla would benefit. Even if we lower 25 or 50 basis points, it's not enough for the consumer to be like, all right, I'm definitely going to pay $1,000 a month for a Tesla. And so that's my problem as well with it. Tesla's done a 2x this year. Yeah, Tesla's done really good this year. If you bought it at 100, you deserve, by the way, I don't think that's a 2x, but if you bought it at 100, you deserve to be up right now. The problem is 100 was a great valuation versus 218, in my opinion. It was just a way better valuation. So that's how I'm feeling. SoFi has less risk than Tesla. Look, I mean, when it comes to market cap, again, I feel like a lot of people think of that argument and they immediately think, oh, look at the business of SoFi versus look at the business of Tesla. I'm talking about market cap. SoFi has to go from 8 billion to 24 billion. I just think that's a little easier. Like, I'm sorry. I think that's a little easier than going from 690 billion to 2.3 trillion. It's just, at some level, it's just, I feel like we have to be a little reasonable here. Remember, I think a lot of people are stuck in 2021 where they thought, oh, $1 trillion market caps, all that stuff, $2 trillion market caps, those are just normal. Dude, that was normal when we had lower interest rates. Those interest rates are not low anymore. It's like, this is the reality of the situation. We have to understand that. See, like this argument by Matt, this is just, quite honestly, Matt, I think this is not arguing against my point. Tesla's a once-in-a-generation company and SoFi is a banking app. Not only does it delegitimize all of the thesis around a company like SoFi by reducing it to a banking app, which sure, you can do that. You get some street cred by doing that, but that's not, I think, an intellectual form of discussion. But you're not answering the market cap discussion. Where is the growth coming from to get them to a $3 trillion market cap? And if you think it's FSD, then I disagree. If you think it's robotaxis, I disagree. If you think it's a robot, I disagree. If you think it's Dojo, quite frankly, I just disagree. If you think it's increased sales of cars, I agree. But the problem is those revenues are not going to increase with those sales of cars because the prices are going to be cut. And I don't think that's a Gordon Johnson take either, because Gordon Johnson has a stupid price target of $24, right? Like Gordon Johnson is living in a different world. But to argue that it's an easy 3x, that's my only beef with the idea of Tesla. And I think any objective Tesla shareholder can be honest about that. Like, can be truly honest that it's not the easiest 3x, And so that's the problem. Apple doubled and tripled way faster than a lot of other companies in the last few years. Yeah, but I mean, Apple sold a lot of products, right? It's easier to sell an AirPod with 70% margins or whatever they have. Apple right now, 175, than it is to sell a car. And it's easier to make an AirPod than it is to make a car. Again, Tesla's in a better situation than every other car company. Let me be very clear about that. Better situation than every other car, especially with the auto verdict strikes going on. It's just a little tough to see that 3x happening super quick. That's all. And that's my point right there. Amit doesn't think FSD will be a thing, but is a huge believer in AI. What LOL? Again, this is a reductive comment. We are seeing AI literally every day in different operational workflows. We're seeing ChatGPT implemented into the enterprise. That's just a ridiculous statement. FSD is not just as simple as, oh, it's part of AI. A car driving itself across the entire United States, forget the entire world, the entire United States, having that being regulated and making sure that there's not a ton of crashes and making sure that it's safer and effective and that people are actually willing to pay $15,000 a year for it, or $15,000 one-time payment, $100 a month, whatever it is just, it's a little bit harder for me to get on that thesis. It really is. It really is. And quite frankly, I would never let my loved ones get in a car that is drive. I would rather have a 5-star Uber driver than a Tesla robot drive my loved ones. I will be very honest about that. I got a lot of shit for saying that yesterday on Twitter. I will be very honest about that. And I think a lot of people deep down in the chat, think about your daughter coming home from the airport from like a summer camp. And, she's got to come home. It's a 40-minute drive from the airport. You're going to let a robo-car pick her up, or a 5-star Uber driver that has done 1,000 trips that is, more likely than not going to be fine. It definitely won't be the 5-star Uber driver's fault. It'll be someone else's fault if there's a crash. I personally, maybe that's a boomer take, but I don't agree with it. I really don't agree with it. Hard for me to get on that that train. Amit, would you let your loved ones get on a plane? Yeah. A plane is different than FSD, in my opinion. A plane is, we've tested that for a long time. FSD may be as great as a plane one day, but it's got to be tested. There's got to be guinea pigs. There were planes that crashed in the beginning when we had planes. Planes weren't all that great, just like Fords. If you look up certain stories about how the Ford started when there was no seatbelts and you have to have lawsuits, like there's all guinea pigs for this stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of guinea pigs for FSD. And once those guinea pigs end up dealing with what they have to deal with, then I'll decide if, it's worth it. But until then, no way. Not doing it. Not doing it. Arwin says 100% FSD is the future, but you can't deny the premium on a stock. Stock price and company are not the same, which a lot of people get messed up on. Great companies can have a rational stock. Yeah, and look, I agree. I think the premium on Tesla also is, to some levels, justified because there are companies that are so great that will always be overvalued, like a Tesla, like an Amazon. It's just right now in the short term, that growth is going to suffer a little bit. That's all. I think that's super reasonable to say. And look, Tesla could spike back to 300. That's great. My capital with an average of 217, if I buy in today, I don't like that return. I would rather buy a company that has a lot more potential than having a $700 billion average price, per share in terms of market cap, and then hoping it goes to 3 trillion. Like, I think it's the most unemotional way to think about it. Now, for those in the chat that have great averages, that's perfect because you can ride it up. But for those that are just getting an average, it's I feel like you have to have a little sympathy there. You don't have money. That's why. That's another reason. I don't have money. That's also another reason. Look, a lot of people in the chat disagree with you. You would hate the Uber driver. You would love the FSD. And look, that's what makes a market. That's what makes a market, whether we agree or disagree. However, this is just how I feel. And I think a lot of people, when you actually have to put your loved one in that FSD, you might feel a little different. But if you're saying in the chat you think you're fine with it, then go ahead. That's totally fine. I think it would be a little difficult to get a lot of people to be on board. Like, I'm not putting my mom in that car, bro. I'm just not doing it. Just no way. And I also think this is the biggest gripe I have with a lot of people that, love FSD and think it's coming in a year. There has to be regulation over FSD. By the way, Elon has said there needs to be regulation over AI. So to say that there needs to be zero regulation over FSD or that it's not going to play a meaningful impact in terms of how it's executed and implemented across, forget the United States, one state in the United States that allows it, that's going to be a hurdle that's not happening anytime soon. And if it's happening really soon, then I would love to see that happen in the matter of a year that people think. I don't think it's going to happen soon, especially when Tesla has a lot of other shit they have to figure out. They haven't even got it fully correct, right? Now they're doing vision stuff with AI versus the previous stuff where they were training it on video. Like, there's so many different things they're doing. I think it's going to take a little bit more time. That's all. And that's why FSD, I think, is going to take some while. You are being unrealistic to expect more than a 3x. I don't think that's unrealistic, bro. Is that unreal? At 25 years old, is it unrealistic to buy a stock, hold it for 5-7 years, and want a little bit more, or want a 3x? That's my baseline. Is that really unrealistic? I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's crazy, especially because I could hold it for the next 10, 15, 20 years, right? I just want to make sure that it's easier to get there and there's not that much risk associated with it. Bro, they can drive on the road right now using a beta. Yeah, and I've seen those videos by a lot of YouTubers that almost get into crashes when they're on that. Like, can we be a little honest here? A little honest here? MKBHD, one of the biggest Tesla bulls that drives the car on the road, is almost crashing into the Easy Pass and has to get the wheel before. Like, can we just be a little honest? Just a little honest. It's not as proven as everyone thinks it is. And again, if you trust your life with it, then go to sleep in the car and see what happens. You're not going to do that, which means it's not fully there yet. And I'm not saying you have to be able to go to sleep for that to be there, but that is the vision that has been painted by the Elons and the Cathys of the world. And I just think it's hard to deny that it's not really there yet. But then again, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe it's coming sooner than me. I guess we will see. You can't make sure that SoFi and Palantir even get a 3x from here. It's because they're spec plays. I agree. I'm taking a bet that those plays are less speculative than a Tesla going to 3x because of valuation. Again, listen to this argument. SoFi and Palantir are more speculative than Tesla. They're obviously unproven compared to Tesla. But when it comes to a 3x, Palantir has to be a $90 billion company. SoFi has to be a $24 billion company. Tesla has to be a $3 trillion company. There is a difference there. Or a 2.7 trillion, right? Whatever. There is a difference there. And I think that's, and see, 2 years ago, I never thought about valuation. That was the difference between me as an investor today and 2 years ago. I never thought, I didn't give a shit about valuation. And quite frankly, with interest rates being that low, no one needed to give a shit about valuation. We've been humbled. Valuation matters. This stuff is important. I'm not saying Tesla deserves to be $24 a share by any sense of the matter. I don't even know what the fair value of Tesla is, but I do know me getting in at this average feels a little high, given I think the valuation, given where we're seeing the growth is, might be a little rich. That's all. People are brainwashed into thinking 8 to 12% is a normal return because of average S&P returns. That's low. Yeah, and S&P compounded the past 3 years was 23%. Inflation compounded past 3 years was 20%. So if you invest in an index, you beat inflation by 3%, which is not good, right? And so that's why I don't think it's crazy, especially if you're at a younger age, to expect a little bit more of a return by investing in some of the most innovative companies in the United States of America, where we create innovation, which is the bull case for Tesla, but it comes down to valuation. Amit said the same thing at Tesla when it was beginning of the year when it was heading towards $100 and he missed out on an easy double. I don't think I necessarily said the same thing. I think at that time I was just buying Palantir when it was at $7 or $8, $9. I mean, like that was the bigger thing for me, right? Definitely did I miss Tesla at 100? 100%. I will take full accountability. That was stupid, not buying Tesla. That was stupid. That was my fault, 1000%. But I was buying something that has done pretty damn good this year, right? A little bit better than Tesla. So I won't necessarily shit on myself that much for not buying Tesla at 100 because I was buying something that ended up doing well. But yeah, I messed up on that at 100. Now, granted, does making a mistake of not buying Tesla at 100 factor in that at double the valuation, that same mistake is being made? I don't know. Frankly, I think the answer is no, because it's double the valuation, right? Like that is something that's important to recognize as well. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. All right, let's do one last look on the macro. Then we're going to do 10 minutes of Q&A because this is what we do on Fridays. We do Q&A. PayPal at 53, Apple at 174, Tesla 216. Again, Tesla's still holding up today really well. It's down 1.5%. And I know I've been pretty bearish on Tesla this episode, but if you go back to 18 minutes and 39 seconds, I do lay out the bull case for Tesla. There are a lot of catalysts coming up. It's just a question of if those catalysts can execute. Cybertruck, FSD eventually getting ready, Dojo, the robot, all of this stuff can be factored into the valuation today. If the market sees potential of future growth, that potential just has to be recognized. And if the market gets that potential, they will factor in that into the valuation, and Tesla will be cheap right now. The question simply becomes if the market factors in that growth rate. Verizon at 32, Enovix at 1017, SoFi 1754. Where's Palantir? Is Palantir down even more? Where is Palantir? Palantir is at 1661. Okay, down 2.6% on the day. It's a Friday. We expected that. SolarEdge 84, recovering a little bit, down 26%. It was down 34%. Enphase 102, it was below 100. That's recovering a little bit. People are buying SolarEdge and Enphase. There's more buyers than sellers today. The stock is, there's more buyers than sellers right now because obviously the stocks have sold off today to start the market. But you get my point, right? It seems like that 98 or that 74 on SolarEdge and Enphase, at least for today, were bottoms given they bounced back up. Nvidia at 420, Nasdaq at 13,102, S&P 500. Where are we at on SPY? Are we at 425 or below? We're at 423, 423.90. And again, Palantir at 1658, down 2.8% on the day. All right. It's a red day. It's Friday. It's a red day, but it is what it is. All right. For the last 10 minutes, we will do Q&A. It's what we do every Friday. Again, thank you all for joining. I think this entire week we hit like 650 to 700 people every morning, which is just super, super awesome. So I appreciate you guys joining again every day. Try to do my best job to give my analysis, present the news, try to be as least opinionated as possible, except when it comes to like trying to break down different perspectives I have, but also just largely present the news. The Israel-Hamas situation over the past couple of weeks has gotten obviously worse, and I've tried to be pretty objective in presenting that. I think the All In podcast did a great job today being as objective as possible in terms of describing the situation. They really did present both sides. So trying to take that approach as a news anchor, presenting the news and keeping it going from there. Oh, let's do word of the day. Okay, so you can put your questions in the chat and we'll do word of the day. Yo, these words of the day are being super weird. The word of the day is, you guys may know this if you cook, pumpernickel. Pumpernickel bread, right? A coarse, darkly, slightly sour bread made of unbolted rye. Pumpernickel bread. I think I've had this before at a bakery. What does this look like? Let's see what it looks like. Pumpernickel bread. Yeah, I've definitely had this before. Is this what pumpernickel bread is at Cheesecake Factory? The brown bread they give? I don't think it's the same bread, but that's the word of the day. The word of the days this week have been interesting. The one I remember the most is mollycoddle, which means to give a lot of attention to. Obviously, I mollycoddle Palantir every day, but that was my favorite word of the day that we had. All right, what do we got in the Tesla stock is pumping? Amit, just want to say you are good energy. You're a good dude. You can take a joke and you bring all of us value. Thanks, bro. Thank you guys for being here. Again, sometimes, opinions disagree from here in the chat, but also you kind of want someone you don't always agree with, right? You don't want someone just sitting in the echo chamber. So I'm happy you guys can listen to my opinions that you may disagree with or agree with. And hopefully I can present them in an objective way and use my communication skills to bring them to actually see both sides and have some logic, right? And not just spit out unwarranted claims. Even if you think the claims may be unwarranted, hopefully I try to present my best chance to give a warrant. And when it comes to taking a joke, look, if you're a public figure, like I was talking about Vitaly today, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. He's been saying Enphase is a buy since 200. He's going to get shit. It is what happens. It is what happens. If you choose to have an opinion on anything in the world, and then you're daring enough to present that opinion to the world in any type of public setting, which already separates you from 99% of the sheep that can ever present their opinion on any type of subject. And it doesn't have to be on YouTube. It could just be in any setting that is more public. Then you're going to get shit and you're going to have to do something that's the most dangerous thing in the world. You're going to have to defend your opinion. And that is where you are now tasked with the responsibility of actually having an opinion. And I think that matters. That really matters when it comes to responsibility. That the responsibility of having and defending an opinion far outweighs the public backlash you may get on that opinion being seen as incongruent with the perspective of what broader society may feels. In fact, if that opinion goes contrarian to what society feels and you're right, then you're in the most golden situation of all time where you are a contrarian and you are actually correct about your opinion. So it is what it is. You got to be able to take the jokes as well. Amit, what do you think of Fiverr? I've used the service. I don't like it. The stock is down pretty significantly. I think the stock was at 130 in 2022. Where's the stock? Stock's at 23. Yeah, man. Look, a digital marketplace to find people to do work for you is not exciting. It's just not that exciting to me at all. And I've used the product a lot. And I know I don't know the growth rates on the top of my head. I know a lot of people use it. I'm not excited for it. So it's one of those companies that's just not. I think there's other opportunities out there that are interesting, but the valuation might be cheap. I haven't looked at the valuation, but at $23 down from 130, maybe that warrants a pretty cheap valuation. Joseph, what podcast do you listen to? I listen to a lot of podcasts, or just a lot of, content in general. Olin podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. I would say Olin. That's like one of the main podcasts to listen to. I haven't finished the current episode today. Lex Friedman. The Jared Kushner episode was amazing. I love that episode. So that was a good one with the Lex Friedman. So Lex Friedman, Olin, and probably some others, but those are the ones on the top of my head. Me buying Palantir at 25. Yeah, same situation. Me justifying my opinion for a Palantir. I stand by my purchase, started the in-depth research. Look, having an opinion makes you dangerous because that means you actually have to defend it. You actually have to care about what you say, which is important. Because caring about what you say really matters in the world, and not enough people don't matter. Just wanted to say I agree with you more than I disagree, but want to bring up counter arguments. Yeah, Josh, and I agree. I love it. Look, I was a debater in high school. I did debate for 4 years. All my life was debate. That was one of the reasons I also think I was prepared for YouTube. Because again, my YouTube growth came kind of quickly. We got 10,000 subs in 3 months. And so you talk about things that grow quickly. Like if you bought the channel YouTube stock, if we were able to do that, that shit would have 10x'd in 3 months, right? And the reason for that was, I think, because I was able to defend an argument every video. And when you're defending an argument, you're presenting an idea and you're talking about the counterclaims, you're going back and forth in the comments. You got to be ready for that. And you got to put out volume, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But I think one of the reasons YouTube works for me and why I enjoy it is because every day, one of the things I hated about graduating high school was that I wasn't going to be able to debate anymore because I decided not to debate in college because I wanted to have a social life. And when you do debate, you're at tournaments every weekend, right? So you literally have no social life. I had no friends senior year of high school. I had a girlfriend and that's it. I had no friends because I didn't even go to my winter ball because I was at a debate tournament. By the way, I won first place at the debate tournament, which I value much more than the stupid winter ball. But those are the sacrifices you have to make. One of the things I was sad about is that I wasn't going to debate anymore. Now with YouTube, I debate every day, right? You're presenting an idea every single day. And so that's the fun part about it. What do you plan to do with the fake wall behind? And when are you going to see the brown jacket, horrible jacket? Bro, I don't know where my leather jacket is. That leather jacket I bought off Amazon last year for $50. Now I can fit in it. I'm not going to lie. When I bought it, I was 185 pounds and it was pretty tight. If you remember those pictures, now I think it'll be super sleek. and I can't find it. I have no idea where it is. So I'm gonna try to find it because I'm going to Vegas next week, and it would be nice to wear it in Vegas. But yeah, I don't have it, so I got to figure that out. In terms of the fake wall, again, these are real bricks. I don't know how many times I have to say that to you guys, but they are real bricks. Small Walk Mall, thank you for this $2 pound super chat. Are you guys vlogging Vegas, doing a little live Q&A? We will do Finance Junkies live from Vegas on Thursday, the 26th. And then we'll probably do the Sunday pod in the morning, probably like around brunch with me, Chris, and Carlos. Vitaly won't be able to make it. And maybe some of the people that come to Vegas. We got, for those, again, we got about 15 people of you fans, Finance Junkie fans. I hate to use the word fans, but, viewers, people that enjoy with the channel, members of the community that are going to be at Vegas with us. And we're doing a bunch of group events. So it's going to be really fun, bro. I've never met people off the internet and created a community off of a joint interest, which was stocks and like Palantir and Tesla, Enphase, all that stuff, right? Like all that stuff brought us together, and the channel and Finance Junkies and the podcast kind of facilitated the relationship. And now I'm actually meeting people that I've never met that have been fans of the channel for a long time. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to like actually meet people and make some new friends and kind of see who they are, because it's going to be really fun just like seeing people. Never Joe Rogan. Ever since Joe left YouTube, bro, it's hard to go to Spotify and listen to him, man. Like those clips of Joe Rogan, they'll come up occasionally. I'll listen to those, but dude, ever since he left YouTube, the podcast growth, I think, in my opinion, has left, because Spotify is just not a great distribution center for podcasts. So for me, yeah, don't listen to Joe Rogan too much. Amit, bring back the full beard for winter like the old days. Dude, I was seeing a picture the other day of me wearing the full beard. I was thinking of bringing it back, but then I'm just like, it was a lot to manage, and it was big, bro. It was thick. It was like you wouldn't even be able to see the mic of this beard, given how thick it was. It also adds like 10 pounds to my face. So I don't know. You know what? I shaved the beard on New Year's Eve for the first time, and I didn't realize, like, in college for 4 years I had that big ass beard. If I had just shaved it in college and let it grow out like more naturally, I would have had a look like this. I'm not shaped up right now, so it looks kind of messy, but this infinitely looks better than the thick ass bush I had on my face, just objectively speaking. And all throughout high school and really college, like I kept the beard. I don't know how I got girls in college with that beard, bro, but I guess they liked it enough to let me keep it. You know what? My ex, she liked the beard a lot, so that's why I kept it. And I think that brainwashed me to be like, oh, every girl likes the beard. But in reality, like, that beard was really big. Like, it looks way better without the beard. Just in my opinion, objectively, it looks way better without the beard. Kelly will be in Vegas. Yo, Kelly's been saying she's a catfish, and the funny thing is the entire chat has been saying for 2 years that Kelly is a catfish. So in Vegas, we're gonna see if she's a catfish. We are gonna finally find out, yo. Is this Kelly? Should I even say girl, person, human being, AI, robot? Is she a catfish? Is she a catfish? We will see. We will officially see. Nate says, I'm not your fan. I'm sorry, Nate. Didn't mean to say that. Nate, have you looked into Appcelera, the kind company you'd like? Yes. Arnie, one of my good friends, is long Appcelera. Chris is long Appcelera. Appcelera is a 20-year hold, so I'm not interested in it right now, especially because I don't have a ton of capital. But it's interesting. It's super risky, though, super speculative. But in 20 years, maybe the thesis turns out. If you guys are interested, go to Arnie's Twitter, Arnie_investing. I think that's his name. Just type in Arnie Palantir. He'll pop up on Twitter, YouTube, and you'll see his thesis. He put out a thesis yesterday, but currently not that interested in Appcelera. Any thoughts on Meet Kevin's house hack? I think Meet Kevin's going to kill it. I think he's actually going to do really well on house hack. I just don't know when, but look, housing prices are going to come down, and he raised what, $50 million bucks. I think he's going to buy a shit ton of houses cheap, and he's going to sell them for a shit ton of money. Like, I don't doubt when Meet Kevin says that could be $1 billion company. I really don't. Because if we get a housing crash of epic proportions because of the Airbnb bubble, because of leverage on those mortgage rates, and just in general, because consumers don't want to pay 8%, he might be a shark in the water and buy cheap. So I think he'll actually do well on it. It's just a question of, if we do get that housing crash or not. No, dude, keep your current look. You look sharp right now. Yeah, I think without the beard is better, bro. I think it's just way better. Again, I kept that beard for like 5 years, bro, and I did not care. Let me pull up just a picture to remind you guys, because some of you are new to the channel. You don't remember the beard, bro. Like, this beard was a beard. This was like a man beard. It was such a beard. I'm just going to outright and say this. It was such a manly beard. My mom, my mother, the woman that gave me birth, the beard was so intense. The woman that gave me birth in 1997, October 27th, which is 7 days from now, I'll be turning 26 years old. My own mother, on many occasions, did not hesitate to call me a terrorist. Okay. That's just, she did not care. She was like, "You look like a terrorist." And I would be like, "Mom, that's racist." She was like, "I don't care. You look like one of those terrorists." And I was just like, all right, it's my mom. She's saying it. And my mom honestly was worried that whenever I'd go to the airplane and I was going traveling a lot in high school, that I would like get stopped by TSA. One time I did get stopped. I don't know why they stopped me, but like, I don't even know if it had to do with me having a beard or anything. Maybe it did. But I think it was something in my bag. It was weird though, because my coach was with me and he was like, "Bro, that beard's gonna get you stopped at TSA one day." And then one day we got stopped and it happened. She was like, "You look like a terrorist." This was the beard, bro. This is the beard. Hold on. I gotta change the camera. I gotta change the camera thing. Let me pull up even a better picture that shows the beard. It was big, bro. It was intense. So my own mom, she was like, "Yeah, you look like a terrorist. You gotta chill with that." And then finally on New Year's Eve, I put up, why I did it? I put up a tweet that Elon said some stupid shit. Elon was like, if this tweet gets blah, 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 I'll do blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, if this tweet gets blah, 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 I'll shave my beard. And then I did it. And that was the trigger that allowed me to actually shave the beard. That's what happened. Let me pull it up real quick. Is this another video? This is another video. Okay, here's another video. Here's another video that'll show you the beard. This is the beard in its all glory. Here it is. Look at this, bro. Look at this. That's a big beard, bro. That's not even as big as it was, to be honest. There's even better ones I can find. But that compared to me today, actually, what I should just show, why am I doing this? I should just fucking show the New Year's Eve live. Amit New Year's Eve live, because that was the one where I actually shaved it. That's what I should show. But anyway, yeah. So even if my mom said that was that was a situation where we had to do that. Amit, you look like someone out of the film from Four Lions. I haven't watched that film because I don't watch any movies, but I'll take your word for it. Where is that video, bro? Why is YouTube not showing that thing? I went and quoted here, live, popular, New Year's Eve, shaving the beard. What did I title that video, bro? It should come up off shaving beard, right? Right? It should. Can anyone find it? If you send it in the chat, I want to show that, dude. I think I've gone live like legitimately 5,000 times. I have like gone live. What do you guys think of Jeremy's Twitch deal? Let's talk about that. What do you guys think of that? Because that was really interesting. I'm gonna see Jeremy. I'm gonna be playing poker at his house in what's his name, in on the 28th in Vegas. So I want to talk to him about that Twitch deal. He was telling me that, look, Twitch is really trying to build out their finance community. I don't know if you guys use Twitch though. I mean, I don't use Twitch like that. I know they have money to spend on the finance people, but because his argument is they have so many finance advertisers, but they don't have enough finance content. But I don't know. Twitch is not that interesting to me. Dude, I really can't find this video. Why is this so hard? Amit Palantir shaving beard. Oh, I found it. Wow, I had to type in Palantir, bro. That's insane. YouTube has associated my name with Palantir so deeply, bro. That's ridiculous. Okay, so this is what it was. For the people who are new to this channel, that's a thick beard, bro. That is a thick beard. That is huge. Like, that's pretty insane. You got to imagine that's pretty insane. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so there's the beard. Like, that's how tough it was. Okay, now look at me today compared to that. And then we begin the process of shaving it. And it just starts coming off. And then look at that. Look at that. It's gone. It's gone. And see, this was the problem. This was the problem by the end, right? The problem by the end, this is how it looked like. Look at this. The problem by the end, okay? Look at, does this look like me? You know why this doesn't look like me? Because I look like the Pillsbury Doughboy, okay? So the problem with shaving the beard is you thought the beard added weight. The problem is when you look like a naked mole rat because the beard is gone, now the weight has nowhere to go. The weight is just pure flabby skin. So this is another reason I needed to lose some weight, bro. Like if I was walking around with no beard and these pounds of weight on my face, it just didn't look good, bro. It just didn't look good. Like, yeah, your mom is right, dude. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. But that's why we did it. That's why we did it. Yo, Kelly is mad at me now in my text. Kelly, obviously I know you're not a catfish. Goodness gracious. She's like, why are you saying I'm a catfish? I'm not saying you're a catfish. I'm saying we'll find out if you're a catfish. I don't know if you're a catfish. We will see. So, but yo, Vegas is gonna be fun. I'm excited for that, bro. To actually see people like Imnop's gonna be there. She's in the chat. Like to actually see people that we met on the internet in one place in person. It's gonna be fun. You know, it's gonna be an interesting experience. It's gonna be really cool. You look better, bro. Beardless, yeah. I agree. I think this beard where it is right now is pretty normal, and that's where it should be. That's how you found the channel. You found the channel off shaving the beard. Damn, bro. What a journey you've been on. That's amazing. That's incredible. Palantir down 5%. Where's that Palantir? Oh my goodness. Where are we at? Damn, 1628. Goodness gracious. Holy crap. Yeah, that 1840 turned into 1620 real quick. 20 cents away, we're back in the 15s. I have some cash secured puts the day after earnings. I got them on November 3rd for like $14.50 on a strike price. I thought it would be before earnings because they always do their earnings November 7th and November 8th. But now they're doing earnings November 2nd. So legitimately, I might have to end up buying some of those shares that get assigned to me on November 3rd if they shit the bed November 2nd. But do they go down to 1450? I don't know. We will see. We will see. Who are you the most nervous to meet? I don't know. That's we'll see. Honestly, it's everybody. You know, I haven't met Chris, even though me and Chris talk every day, so I think that'll be just chill. But I don't know. Everybody, just seeing people that you've talked to for 2 years, right? Like in person. It's like nervousness, but more so just like, damn, it's actually happening in person, right? We're meeting each other. So that's the crazy part about the whole situation. I think it'll be fun though, bro, because I think everyone has a mutual interest, so we'll all get along really quickly. Cold Monkey says, I had a dream I met you. Look, I'm infiltrating your guys' subconsciousness. It is what it is. I can't stop that. It is what it is. I've had some interesting dreams this week. Let's just say that. I've had some interesting dreams this week, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I've had some interesting dreams. And let's just say some people that end up in your dreams, they end up there for weird reasons, and you're just like, why are you in my dream, bro? I'm supposed to be sleeping right now, but it ends up happening. So I could, if you watched me before you slept, there's a good, like, I remember I was watching something before I slept 2 days ago and it showed up in my dreams, like it just happens, right? The study of dreams is one of those things I haven't had a time to go down the rabbit hole, but it is one of the most interesting things in the world. The idea that you can think of something and then it shows up in this like fake world, but it feels real. That's why Inception is like my top 3 favorite movie of all time. Inception is my top 3 favorite movie of all time. Amidst dreaming about Kathy again. Dude, Kathy is never, if Kathy enters my dream, I've got an issue. I don't care about Kathy that much for her to enter my dream. But like that's the concept of a dream, right? This idea that it comes up in your head and that it becomes this like part of your world. And like in that moment, you feel like it's real. Like you feel like you're there. You're with that person. You're actually talking to them. And then you wake up and it's all just, it's gone. Like, it's like a stock. It's like Enphase shareholders today. It's just gone. It's everything you had. It's just gone. I'm being facetious here, but it is what it is. Dreams are so interesting to think about. Inception is really good. Top 3 movie of all time. Top 3 movie of all time. Top 3 out of 3 movies you've seen. Yes, I get it. I haven't watched movies, but still, Top 3 of all time. Let me wear this hat right now because my hair is bugging out. Okay. Someone else had a question. What is this question? How do you know someone isn't a psycho in the chat? So that's also what I did. I did some due diligence over the past couple of weeks. I have talked to every single person that I'm meeting up with in Vegas, like actually talk to them, because I was a little worried about that. I'm not going to lie, with everything going on. Like, yo, what if someone's like kind of crazy? And so I can say at least the 16 people that are in the group chat that is going, like, I know every single one of them very well. So yeah, hopefully everything should be good on that front. And it'll be fun for all those people. We've been in a group chat for like the last month now, so we all got to really know each other as well. I might have seen like 10 movies. I can name more than 10 movies right now. Okay, Inception, Interstellar, Wolf of Wall Street, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Citizen Kane. Even though I never watched that one. Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Dude, there's got to be other movies out there. Fuck. Inception. I already said Inception. Men in Black. That's one. That's a movie. I'm so bad with movies, bro. I'm so bad. Like, I can't, even on the top of my head, I can't even think of more movies. Like, it's just so bad. I talked to Jeremy online and some weird things were said because I was only thinking about investment portfolio. I think I freaked him out. One time Jeremy was on the channel and someone super chatted $20 and she was like, tell Jeremy I want to have his babies. And Jeremy was just like, that was hilarious, bro. People really, I know people give a lot of shit to Jeremy, but it's going to be really fun playing poker with him at his house. He's being so nice welcoming into his house. He's, getting us pizza and wings, and he's a really nice person. So we built who would have thought like 2 years ago I would build a relationship with one of the biggest YouTubers and actually be at his house for the second time. Like, that's kind of crazy to think about, So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to just see him and talk to him. Shawshank Redemption. I watched this. This is a great movie. It's a really long though, but it's a great movie. But people say it's top 10 all time. No, it's not. I mean, maybe it's top 20, but it's not top 10. I don't think so. Why is Palantir down today? The whole market's down. 10 years at 4.9. Palantir growth really isn't there. So again, some of these prices are a little bit elevated. They're gonna come down if Tesla, Enphase, etc. are coming down. You sound like Biden now, bro. Did you guys see his address last night at 8 p.m. to the American public? He was basically talking about Israel, Hamas, and all that stuff. He didn't stutter too much. I think he did a good job. I am actually very worried that we're going to end up into this war. And it's really sad if we end up in another war. Bro, how come under Obama and Biden, we always end up in a war, and in Trump, we didn't end up in a war? Like, and I'm not saying this as a Trumper or as a Biden voter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of crazy to think one guy got us out of everything. The other two guys got us into everything, I know there's a lot of nuance to that. You don't have to get super political. I get it. But it is kind of crazy that under Biden and Obama, we're in some fucking wars. And it's like, what's going on, Brody? We got to chill with that. President Teleprompter did a good job. Yeah, it was good because President Trump is a good president. People just too soft. On the All In podcast, when Jason Calacanis, he was like the biggest Trump bear, I was like, actually, Trump was okay. Even Chamath, right, who hates Trump, he was like, I think I had Trump derangement syndrome. That was crazy because their argument was like, maybe the message is not as bad as the messenger. And, we're seeing some of that issues run up there. 2024 is going to be crazy. I think it's going to be Trump versus Biden again. And quite frankly, gun to my head, I think Trump's going to win. I think he's going to win again. But we will see. He's got a lot of lawsuits to deal with right now. Wolf of Wall Street, top 3 all time. I agree. Obama was in Bush's wars. Look, that's actually a great point. Let me give some credit to that. To give the counter side, let me give some credit. Obama, yes, so Bush had a little bit of a legacy going into Obama. So that is correct. That is right. Kelly says, I'm super excited. I'm going to pretend like I don't even know Amit in Vegas. Bro, I feel like as soon as Kelly sees me, she's going to just start blushing. Like, I feel like that's just going to happen. Like, she's going to see me and she's going to be like, oh my God, it's Amit. And I'm just going to be like, yeah, it's Amit. And she's going to be blushing. I feel like that's going to happen. Put a 1 in the chat if you think Kelly's going to be blushing when she sees me in Vegas, bro. I think it's going to happen. I think she's going to be blushing. I've been telling her, I'm like, yo, you're just going to be blushing when you see me. Will we get a Speaker of the House today? Yeah, that's another issue. I don't think we're getting any Speaker of the Houses anytime soon. That's also another problem. Jim Jordan can't get them votes. and that's going to be a problem. Someone said Bitcoin. Let me check on. Damn, Palantir is 1615. Goodness gracious, Palantir is getting mollywalked today. Bitcoin at 29,598. Even though I mollycoddle Palantir, it's getting smacked today. SoFi at 740. PayPal 53.59. Of course, Tesla 214. Tesla's breaking back down to an intraday low, and S&P 500 close to the 200-day moving average at 422. Why not? Of course. Let the stocks fall with jolly, la 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 la. Netflix 399. Look at this. Netflix down below 400. I'm happy we're doing Q&A and we're not even looking at the equity markets anymore. Who's staying in your room, Amit? Me, Chris, Carlos, and then you guys won't believe it. You guys literally won't believe who's the fourth person in our Airbnb because Vitali's not making it. You guys won't believe it, okay? The guy's name who's staying with me, Amit Kukreja, Chris Patel, and Carlos at our Airbnb, his name is Amit Patel. I said you wouldn't believe it, but this is my life. You wouldn't believe it. Amit Patel. That's his name. Now, this guy is super chill. I've been talking to him for the past couple months. He's like turning into a good friend. He's like really, really cool. Manages a very, very big portfolio, like much more money than me. And maybe he'll hop on the podcast on Finance Junkies when we do it on Thursday. He's a big fan of the pod, but like his name is Amit Patel. Like you couldn't believe that, right? Like that's insane. The fact that his name is Amit Patel. It's just wild. Ryan Robbins, good morning. Good morning, Ryan. Thank you for joining. We're nearing the end of the stream, but thank you for being here. A lot of ones in the chat. So I think everyone agrees that Kelly is going to be blushing. So I think that is the case. Kelly says, I'm going to show up in heels and show you who's boss. Sick of being rejected on lives when all I do is mollycoddle your ass. See, the funny thing is Kelly thinks I'm rejecting her on stream when in reality, every fucking comment she puts in the chat, I put on the fucking screen. So like, this is the problem with women. Okay. You can barely do enough for them to feel like they're giving enough attention. Like every comment, I press it. It's there. She's taking away time from other people's comments being on the screen. And she's like, there's not enough attention. And then on top of that, she's going to wear heels and be taller than me. And look, that's just not a good thing. It's not a good thing for women to be taller than men. It's not a good thing. Objectively, it's not good. It doesn't look cute. It doesn't look pretty in the photos. It's not good. I will say that. I don't care. You can fucking cancel me. It's not nice to have a woman being taller than a man. And when I'm a billionaire one day, they're going to take this clip and they're going to post it everywhere. And the New York Times is going to call me a bunch of things. Fuck you, New York Times. It's not cool for a woman to be taller than a man. Therefore, what? I said it. And so wearing heels is just really disrespectful because I can't control my genetics, but you can control wearing heels. And I think that's, the problem is women don't have enough empathy for men. Like all the people fighting in wars right now, they're men, okay? And so we really need to have a little bit more empathy for some of the height problems men have. And like you go on Tinder, the woman's like, if you're not 6 feet, don't even swipe. And it's like, okay, all right. Like I hope you're doing really well. I hope you look phenomenal if you want this 6'7" man in your life. So I think we need to give a little bit more sympathy to men, okay? How tall are you? I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". See, and that's I have a big personality, but I'm not tall. And if I was tall with my personality, let me just say, if I was 6'2" with my personality, I think I would take over the planet. I really do. But I think God was like, you know what? We're going to let you do some stuff, but we're not going to let you do that much. So that's the problem. That's the problem with what I'm dealing with. I date tall woman, best experience of my life. Yeah, but Zocold, aren't you tall, bro? Like you're actually tall, which is like, look, if you're like kind of the same height, it's okay. But if she's like 3 inches taller than you, bro, it's, at least for me, I'm not the most comfortable. Other people may be comfortable, but I don't like it the best. It's okay, Amit. You look 6 feet on live, dude. I think Carlos and Chris are also 5'7", 5'8". It's not like they're taller. So Vitali's the tall one. Vitali's like, that'd be funny. Vitali's like 6'1". If we were all four in the room, he would be taller than all of us. That'd actually be a funny picture if we do that. How many stocks do you hold? I think it's 6 positions. TFC, SoFi, Robinhood, PayPal, Palantir, a little bit of Enphase. And yeah, I think that's it. Right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So 6 positions. That's it. Update on Palantir. Palantir is $16.08, down 5.75% on the day. Yeah, Palantir got hit. Palantir got hit today. We are down. Get some lifted shoes. Yo, I'm thinking of doing that, bro. That fucking stupid heel trick is not gonna work on me in Vegas. I think I gotta do that. I thought Vitaly was the smallest. Yeah, Vitaly's the tallest. Vitaly is the tallest. That's his B-Day gift, Josh. Wow. See, this is the insults just continue to happen. Okay, what else? Let's do like a couple more minutes, then we're out. And we'll be done for the day. You know, I kind of want to stream on Saturdays and do like, you know, this long Q&A. I kind of want to do this on Saturday nights. But Saturday nights, I kind of just like, I don't even touch YouTube, bro. I don't stream at all. Because then Sunday, we got to do Finance Junkie. So that's the one day I get to not stream. And then I don't know if we're doing SoFi Weekly or Palantir Weekly tonight, guys. Because honestly, I don't think I could do it tonight. Tonight, I'm just a little tired, quite frankly. And there's not that much news to discuss for SoFi and Palantir this week. Like, I think sometimes it's okay to take a week off because it just, you know, the audience gets to relax a little bit as well. Really nothing that interesting for Palantir this week and really nothing that interesting for SoFi. So I think I'm going to take off tonight and I might do a Saturday night Q&A like this just in the night and just talk normally. Because there's just not enough news. I mean, there's news, but like, there's news to make videos and have content around. But to have a whole full podcast where you're supposed to talk for 2 hours and like have in-depth discussion, there's just not enough stuff this week for both companies that are interesting. The guys might do SoFi Weekly, but I might just be in the chat today. I don't think I'm going to watch, or I don't think I'm going to be on stage. But they might want to cancel too tonight because people might be tired. Oh, I got to do this. You guys were asking for this. Let me pull this out. Okay, so people were asking about this constitution I have in the back of the stream, and I want to read it for you guys. So this is a gift from Kelly. I'll give her. She's talking about gifts in the chat. So. We'll see what she gets me on my birthday, even though she literally has to get me nothing. I mean, she's gotten me enough gifts. That Aldia sign, that's also from Kelly. So she's more like a sugar mama, quite frankly. No, I'm just kidding. But she has gotten me a ton of gifts, and this is a gift from her. This is my favorite quote of all time. Okay, this is literally my favorite quote of all time. And this quote, I want to read it to you guys if you haven't heard it. It's from Charles Bukowski. It's Go All the Way. When I heard this quote, when I was how old was I? I was 19. No, I was 20 and I was in college. This quote changed my life. Okay. And I want to read the quote and then I want to analyze the quote. It's a long quote, but I want to read it from Charles Bukowski. And Kelly was nice enough, I think on my birthday last year, right? Yeah. Was it Christmas or my birthday? No, it was Christmas. It was Christmas. She got me this gift and it's just one of the best quotes of all time. All right. So here it goes. The quote is, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This can mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, and maybe even your mind. It can mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It can mean freezing on a park bench. It can mean jail. It can mean diversion. It can mean mockery or isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. Okay. Now, why is this quote so important? The reason this quote is so incredible is because Charles Bukowski, for those that don't know his story, he did not become a successful writer until he was 54 years old. It took him 54 years of life to become an official writer, like someone who actually gets published in magazines. He didn't have social media. He didn't have Twitter. He was back in the 1960s, 70s is when he sort of got popular. So it took him a long time. So you talk about someone for 50 years. He started writing at like 19. And so really for like 30, 40 years, he could not get published. That like he could not beat back this establishment that wasn't letting him get the mainstream coverage he was choosing. He wanted to get. That was his dream. And so this quote, I think, means a lot coming from his perspective because it relates to anyone who has a goal in life. Obviously, I'm trying to build a startup. I'm trying to do, really big things. And every day it's a very big challenge. I know I don't talk about it a lot on the channel, but after YouTube, 7-8 hours of the rest of my day is trying to make that thing become real. And I think we made some significant progress this month, and hopefully over the next couple months, we've got a lot more updates and real progress to come. But it's hard. By the way, a quick segue, and then I want to talk about this. NVIDIA's founder, Jensen Huang, was on a podcast today. This is a quick little tangentially important thing to kind of make the overall point. The founders of the podcast, they were like, 30 years ago, knowing that NVIDIA is now a $1 trillion company, would you start NVIDIA? He unequivocally said no. I want to play the clip for you guys in a second. He said, no, I wouldn't do it. He said, no. He said, the reason entrepreneurs or people that actually build something have a superpower in society, especially if they end up becoming successful, is because it is 1 million times more harder than you thought it would be. And, I'm discovering this with my own startup. It is, and me and my co-founder, we are optimistic every fucking day, even though we've had setback after setback. Like, I'm about to get on a meeting with him in an hour. We are optimistic as fuck after 2 years of doing this, because we look at how far we've come and we're like, yo, we can take it that far if we just really work on it. But it's 1 million times harder than we thought it would be. And when Jensen Huang, who's one of the most successful founders in the world, $34 billion net worth, says, I would not go back. And he's not saying it to say, he's saying, I would not go back and start the company, because if I knew 30 years of knowledge of how hard it would be, I wouldn't fucking do it. Like, it's just, there's just no way you could torture me to go through that type of pain. Even Spotify co-founder Daniel Ek, he said, I would not start it again. He lost all of his hair. The dude turned bald trying to build Spotify. But nonetheless, if you're going to try, you go all the way. And that's why this quote is so important to me, because the very essence of this quote is, if you have any ambition, it doesn't have to be a startup, doesn't have to be a company, it could be anything that is a little bit harder to grasp in life, and requires a level of responsibility that is profound, from a spiritual sense and from an actual execution sense. It means you go all the way. If you make the decision to lose weight, you fucking lose weight, right? You actually don't eat the hamburger. Like, you go all the way. You try your hardest to dedicate yourself to one thing. And when he says here, and you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, that's another incredible point to this quote, because the odds are stacked against you if you're trying to do anything in life. Absolutely anything. The odds are stacked against you if you're doing anything in life. And if you're trying to beat those odds, you're going to take a shit ton of rejection to be able to even get there in the first place. Do you think it would be even harder for you, Amit, if you didn't have a YouTube channel to promote Audia? Yeah, and that actually goes into the point I'm making here. When he talks about rejection, dude, when we were raising money for Audia, it was 9 months of, like, imagine waking up every morning, the day before, sending 500 emails, waking up the next morning, having 500 rejections. Hey, will you invest in my startup? Hey, I have this thesis. I have this narrative about where the audio market is. Like, nope, not interested. Oh, good idea. Talk to us later. Nope. And by the way, interest rates were 0. So this is the best time to raise money. And all these motherfuckers are like, no, fuck you. And then you end up getting past the rejection phase and you get the meetings. I had at least 40 meetings with some of the top premier venture capital firms in the United States of America. General Catalyst, I met with these guys. Mayfield Fund, I met with these guys. They invested in Snapchat. They invested in Airbnb. They invested in Uber. Like, I met with a Greylock in New York City. These guys were early investors in the biggest tech companies in the world. They were willing to give me the meeting. And quite frankly, I don't even know why they were willing to give me the meeting, because I guess they saw something in the idea to give me that fucking meeting. And then you're like, holy shit, I got the meeting. And then in the meeting, you get rejected a week later after the meeting. Like, there's a level of rejection that comes when you're trying to do something, but you'll still do it despite the worst odds. Because, as he says in the quote, you will ride life straight to the perfect laughter. To me, the perfect laughter is the laughter of trying to do something so fucking absurd that you try anyway. And that's why this quote is so special to me. I mean, even YouTube, bro, people think like YouTube is natural to me. And it's like, yeah, I've been able to develop myself a little bit on the channel and get a following. Dude, I was doing YouTube in 2012. In 2012. Like, I have channels from 2012. They're not on anymore. But like, the amount of experimentation I've done with content in regards to my own personal brand is like ridiculous. If I ran through the ideas, you wouldn't even believe how many ideas I ran through. I actually have some old videos. Maybe on the Saturday stream, I'll show some of my old videos from when I was in college. It's a lot of rejection, a lot of just like thinking you can do it and going against the grain and then maybe one day figuring it out. But the fun part is the process of trying to figure it out. That's the fun part. So that is the quote for those that were interested. Charles Bukowski, go all the way. I recommend looking into his life. He's a very, very interesting guy. Jittery Hobo says, pronounce your last name for me a bit. Kukreja. Kukreja. Kukreja is the last name. Amit Kukreja. Some people say Kukaracha, but Kukreja. Amit is saying something really deep right now, but I'm preoccupied. The amount of people that have said they're like listening to this in the car or whatever, it's kind of crazy because I remember coming home from work in 2022 and Millennial Money. If you guys remember that podcast, that was my 60-minute drive. I had to drive fucking 70 miles every day. Bro, I was driving 70 miles up and down New Jersey, coming home, making the fucking YouTube videos, getting all the thumbnails, blah, 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 and then waking up and then doing all that shit over again for literally 8 months until I could finally quit. It was a grind. It was a fucking grind. But that's what I would listen to. I would listen to Millennial Money, and they would occupy me during my 60-minute drives. And so it's kind of cool to be someone else's listening time during those drives. I remember, bro, like when you're driving for 60 minutes, you can't listen to music. You need something intellectual. And I would just be trying to find anything that's like reasonable to listen for 60 minutes. And Millennial Money was one of those, Kukreja, as per John. Original. That's an original version of the joke. Kukaracha, there's one. There's a lot of those that I've heard. I listen to it every day on my way to work too and during work. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Let me just say, it is, it is incredibly, dude. Okay, so I remember in 2021 when I started like really taking social seriously and trying to build a brand before even I came into like the finance world. I would just imagine what would it feel like to tweet something and for someone to respond to it. Because I remember the days where you would tweet something and like, no one cares, bro. You're just like tweeting into an echo chamber. That's why it's very hard to grow on Twitter, or post a YouTube video and get like 1 or 2 comments about, what you did. And now it's a different world because there is a bit of an audience. They do kind of care about your opinion. And now it's like, there's people every day that kind of, that you're part of their mental capacity in regards to consumption. And so it's a really different feeling. It's not only humbling, but it's like, it makes you think a lot more about your perception in the world, given other people are consuming it, and on top of that, it makes you want to keep growing, bro. Like the thing about creating content on the internet when you're actually growing is you don't want to ever stop. And I think that's another reason I think YouTube can be successful for me. By the way, YouTube's not a sustainable income by any sense of the imagination. It's absolutely not a sustainable income. And I've never done a brand deal on this channel. So, it's not like I'm raking in money like Meet Kevin from YouTube, but because the views I get are just not up to that level. But the process of building the channel, and I think that's what Meet Kevin had in 2015 to 2019. He got his big break during COVID with the stimulus content. But for 7 years, he was just making videos because he loved making videos. And I think that's the same thing with me. I love making content, even if the money's not there. And in the meantime, if you can capture audience, even if you're not making money, eventually the money will come. And so it'll work itself out. But you've got to love the game of actually doing it. And I think that's the one thing about I just fucking love the game. And so that's the fun part. Kelly says she's driving right now. Michael says, dude, I don't know how are we all on right now. Like, do we even work? A lot of you guys, do you guys work from home? Put in the chat. What are you doing right now? How are you listening to this? Are you at the doctor's? Are you working from home? Are you at a construction field? Like, I'm really curious. How are you consuming this right now? This is like so meta when you see this stuff. Like when people say, oh, I'm calling in from Singapore, I'm from Finland. I'm like, that's fucking crazy, bro. You're in Singapore and Finland. That's just amazing. Felipe says, bro, I love your content. Never message, but really always watch. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people like that. The percentage of people that comment to watch is like 10 to 90, right? 90% of people watch that they don't comment. And that's just everyone. I watch a bunch of creators I never comment on. But the times I comment on a piece of creator's content, I know I'm going out of my way to actually leave a comment because I genuinely fuck with that creator. So like it is special when people just interact in the comments or whatever, because they actually kind of care about the content. Imnop's at home. Ephemeral phase. I work from home starting like 30 minutes. Home, sleep after this. That's from Dex. I think Dex is in Singapore. Ryan Robinson says, working 30 minutes, drinking a protein shake, watching. Felipe says, live in Bangkok. It's 10 p.m. here. Canadian guy, have an e-commerce brand and live in Southeast Asia. That's amazing, bro. So you're doing the whole financial independence thing. E-com brand, but you live in a part of the world that's cheaper to live in. And that's so awesome. I've heard of that narrative. That's a great way to build some real wealth. I feel like your chat is pretty active compared to others. Yeah, I agree. I'm really grateful for the chat, and I say it every day. But I think that's what it means to build a community, bro. Like community building gets thrown around so much, but like yesterday, the podcast we did, we had like 550 people there because Tesla tanked, and a community comes together when a really good or bad thing happens, and we have a community event, right? We discuss about it. And so that's why I think with the Finance Junkie stuff, I know in the grand scheme of things, me, Chris, and all of us are really small on YouTube compared to like Kevin, Jeremy, all those guys. But I think we're doing it the right way. I think we're building the right fucking way. And I think eventually when the market turns, the views are going to be at a higher level because more people will discover us. But I think the core community, to keep that flame alive, we're doing it the right way. So I think that's the right thing. Live stream poker. I don't think Jeremy wants us to live stream from his house, so probably won't do that. But we'll definitely take some videos because I know he'll be excited to get some content out there. I found you from watching Tanner, and I found Tanner because I set up a SoFi account and want to learn a lot more about SoFi on YouTube. Yeah, Tanner, Tevis, all of us part of this community. I think we're all doing it the right way. And it's fun because, like, on CNBC, they all have different guests come in. I feel like me, Tanner, Tevis, Steve, Matt Money, Arnie, Chris, Carlos Vital, we're all like CNBC contributors on YouTube, and we all go on each other's channels and we just like contribute. And I feel like that's so cool that we're fucking, bro, I used to come home from school and I would like be part of these YouTube communities when I was 14, 15, and there was all these collaborations. And now like I'm part of kind of that collaborative network in the finance world. It's like really cool. It's really fun, Missy working from home, Arona cooking and listening. I've had my one meal of the day already, so I'm good for the rest of the day. The only thing I have left is this latte to hold me over. Probably might have a snack a little bit later in the day, but my one meal a day is done. So by the way, if no one's doing one meal a day, I would recommend trying it out. The level of sophistication and relentlessness you need to have for your body to accept one meal a day and to really do it, your body is going to become a fat burning machine and your soul is going to change. I watched a video last night of this guy who went 5 days without eating, and it really cleaned out his entire gut, but it's a real experience to force yourself to not eat for 23 hours. It's not an easy thing to do. I would recommend just trying it out, see if it's even possible to do it. David, hey man, I watch every single Freelancer Finance pod, and I watched you guys for a month. Keep up the good work. Thank you, David. I appreciate you again being in the chat. David, again, your profile check has that McDonald's. It always makes me feel like either you work at McDonald's or you're from McDonald's, or I want to go get McDonald's right now. The thing about being an adult and having a car is you can go get whatever food you want, right? Like that's the thing I've noticed. And in 2022, that was my problem because I was like, oh, I'm an adult, I have a car, I have some money. Let me go buy whatever I want. Let me go eat whatever. It's like, wait a second, hold on there, buddy. Like you can't just go buy whatever food you want because you don't have to ask your mom for permission anymore. Like now you have to ask yourself for permission. And when you ask yourself for permission, it's a different question. I get a headache when I'm missing a meal, but I'm 6'4", 220. Yeah, if you're a little taller, it is harder. It is definitely harder if you're a bit taller. Losing 60 pounds, eating 5 meals a day. It's all about calories and proteins. That's possible. Caloric deficit, then you can definitely lose the weight, even if you eat 5 meals a day. But 5 meals a day with that caloric deficit is insane. I feel like you must be working out a lot, Simon, to be able to do that. All right, let's take one last look at the markets, and I think we're out for today. This was an awesome stream. Thank you guys for being here on the Friday streams. And yeah, I think Saturday Q&As, we'll start those. We'll see where it goes. Palantir, look at that. 1601, teetering on that $15 level. We'll see if that gets there. S&P 500, 423. Tesla, 213. Another intraday low, down another 3%. PayPal, 53.74. SoFi, 738. Enphase back under 199. SolarEdge at 80. Bitcoin, the asset that is doing the best today. Shout out to Carlos. He's enjoying some of that run up. Even Truist down 2% on the day. And Netflix at 400. Palantir at 1604. Well, we are seeing a decline on Palantir today. We'll see next week how the markets react to it. But obviously, we've got some red today to deal with. All right, that's it for me. Have a great weekend, everybody. Again, thank you for joining. It means the absolute world to me. I don't take you guys for granted, and I hope you guys know that, even though I say it every day. Do not take you guys for granted, and it just means the world to be able to do this every single day and for you guys to join. So we'll start it all again next week, Monday, 8:45 a.m. Market open will continue next week as normal, even though I'll be in Vegas on Thursday. And probably not going to be SoFi and Palantir weekly tonight. We'll have a week off. Go enjoy Friday night. I'll be at home. I'm not going anywhere. I'll try to just finish some more work, relax a little bit. But yeah, we'll be back either tomorrow on a Saturday stream or Finance Junkies on a Sunday, and then Market Open back on Monday. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Appreciate you guys. I will see you later this weekend. Bye, everyone.